Good morning. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. The hearing of the case involving the former Finance Minister, Kenneth Danaya Kotunkurunkwu-Ofori-Atta, this week we saw began virtually in the United States and has been adjourned to April 27, 2026. But there was a bond application, or here we'll call it a bail application, that his lawyers sought to have heard by the court so as to have Ken Ofori-Atta granted bail and subsequently be released so that the April 27 hearing, he could actually go home, prepare with his lawyers, and come. We understand that that bond or the bail application, per the information given by his lawyers, will be determined on the 19th of February. 19th of February. So he appeared before the court in the United States for this immigration hearing, but this bond application will be determined on the 19th of February. His detention in the United States continues by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that's ICE, who arrested him on January 6, 2026. So he will be in the clutches of ICE until February 19, 2026. The U.S. authorities also are making a demand. In fact, the trial judge making the demand for the evidence of the extradition by the authorities in Ghana. The Department of Justice, we understand, per the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayene's own responses, are working to make that particular demand available to the trial judge in the next hearing, which is February 19. Well, this is a matter that has been followed keenly. In fact, there was a strong Ghanaian interest in that hearing sometime within the week, on Tuesday, on the 20th. And the virtual hearing, so quite a number of things happened. We would have a conversation this morning, especially taking into consideration the next few days ahead of us, how this particular case will travel here on the Key Point. There are many who are asking questions as to why he would opt for this particular experience than coming to Ghana. His lawyers say he is not afraid of accountability. If he will have to come, he will come. But what is keeping him? Stay with us. We'll have a conversation this morning. The opposition New Patriotic Party this week, their aspirants signed a peace pact, all five of them, ahead of the January 31 presidential primary, exactly a week away from today. Next week, it's going to be a big issue on the platform this morning. But ahead of that, they signed a pact to ensure that they commit to unity. And in fact, that was a theme that ran through all the speakers who spoke at this particular event. How much of an impact or currency would analysts put on this particular peace pact? There's been polls and prophecies by posters and tricksters and everybody who wants to have a stake in what is happening in the New Patriotic Party. Musa Dankwa has put out his last poll ahead of this flag bearer primaries on Saturday, January 31. Musa Dankwa will be joining us. We'll have a conversation later this morning. Our big conversation for the poll tracker will continue our focus on the transportation crisis. We've got information of how Metro Mass over the years have been auctioning what they describe as unserviceable buses that you and I, the nation's resources have been used to buy for ridiculously low prices to politically exposed persons and amongst themselves. There have been reports of some being sold for 500 cedis, some 2,500 cedis, a so-called unserviceable bus. Then every administration, in fact, from President Kufuor, we track up until now, every administration buys new buses for Metromas and Ayalolo. What is going on? What is happening there? Who is being held accountable for, if it's the bad maintenance culture or this whole cabal that renders these buses unserviceable? Then they sell it out to politically exposed persons and amongst themselves at the expense of the people. We'll have a conversation this morning because the persons who will be joining us would have to give us the answers. The Deputy Managing Director of the Metro Mass Transit will be joining us. And then also the Majority Chief Whip, who has indicated his intentions on what to do about this particular transport crisis, will be joining us. We have a number of lawyers as well who will be joining us, plus a public policy analyst as well. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. I am Alfred Okansi. Welcome to The Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on the Voice of London Radio in the heart of the City of London, and the Voice of London Television, also in the heart of the City of London. We'll be back with the poll tracker as we start the conversation on the transportation crisis. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. We are on a number of radio stations across the country. This is the Poll Tracker. This is a data-driven segment of the show. The data we're going to show you is publicly verifiable, one that you watching us can also source from where we took it. You stay with us every step of the way. Now, over the last, at least almost 1 month now, we've seen the transportation crisis, or the challenge that a number of persons who depend on public transport have been faced with. And it doesn't give us any signal of easing anytime soon. This week we saw the GPRTU put some measures in place to clamp down on the unscrupulous drivers who are taking advantage of the desperate public, going on these short trips and taking money. Over time, we have seen governments gone by, and in fact, the present, talk about addressing the situation in the interim by providing more buses. Last week, we established that it is not the long-term solution, which was actually agreed. But then what's the thinking for the rail and other forms of transportation beyond just the quick fixes that we have seen? Right from when government molded this idea of getting into public transportation to reduce the burden of the commuting public who depend on public transport, we have seen a rather worrying trend of some corrupt persons or politically exposed persons taking advantage of this intervention by governments to help reduce the burden of public transportation. Right from the day that the former president, John Agyekum Kufuor, molded this whole idea of a metro mass transit or some sort of public transportation system. This is it. I'm going to show you. All of this is publicly verifiable. Take a look. From 2003, when the John Agyekum Kufuor-led NPP administration ventured into this public transportation system, some 152 buses for Metro Mass were bought, 152. At the time, the cost that was put to it was $12.2 million. Additional 650 were bought. And this was it. At the time, in fact, the ones we bought for $12.2 million, 152 of them. As at the time we checked, this week, none of those buses are on the road. The 152 that the former president John Agyekum Kufuor bought, none, not even one, is roadworthy. And in fact, we couldn't even find a number of them. Majority of them have been sold. This 152. Fast forward, the 650 that he bought with the taxpayers' money, by the way. I mean, that if I say his administration bought with the nation's resources, $65 million, 650. We went to the Metro Mass Transit Yard. And we'll show you the videos so that you know that we did our checks on the ground. We couldn't find one. In fact, the three that we found were somewhere in the Ashanti region. 650 between 2004 and 2006. So combined, the former president John Agyekum Kufuor's regime bought almost 800 buses. Look at that. Fast forward to 2009 to 2011. The John Evans Atta Mills John Dramani Mahama administration. Some 200 buses were bought. And I want you to just keep this in mind. If all these buses that we've used the nation's resources to buy were on the road, would we even have to think about buying new buses? No. And so where are they? 200 buses, $22 million between 2009 and 2011. When we checked, just a handful are on the road, roadworthy. Then in 2012, another 150 buses were bought for $80 million. About 50 of them, when the sun are active. Then, fast forward to 2015, John Dramani Mahama first term, $15.1 million spent on 80 buses. In fact, 116 buses. Think about 116 buses. And I want you to do the addition for me from 152 plus 200, that's plus 200 plus 650 plus 150 and then 116. Just between 2003 and 2015. 1, 650, 200, 150, and 116. Just within a period of 12 years. 1,268. 1,268 buses within this period, 2003 to 2015. We are not done yet. 2016, before John Mahama left office, saw the Ayalolo buses that came in as well. 245, 80 active, 73.5 million. In 2022, and you see, every administration since John Ajinkum before, because he started this whole idea of government getting into public transportation, they bought buses. 2022, 100 buses were bought. When we checked, $22 million. Just about 90 of them are roadworthy. Before the NPP left office, there was a report of some 100 buses, electric buses that had been procured. Only 10 of them were delivered and active. 90 of them pending. So we do not know the plan for it. We'll be finding out what the plan is for this particular, the 90 that is pending. But I want you to, if you add this 245 to the 100, or maybe just add 10, 245 plus 10, that'll be 255 to all of this, so that we'll have an idea of between 2003 and to date, how many buses we have on our roads. 1,523. That's the total number of buses that we have used the state resources to buy. Over 1,500. How many of them are on the road? And where are they? Those that are not on the roads. We'll be getting an answer to that question this morning. So stay with us. The three news research desk, Wisdom, Safo, and Enoch, and the team, they put this together. Total number of buses since 2003, 1,873. This is it. I'm going to put that on the screen. It gives you an idea of what we're dealing with. The estimated cost is over $330 million. Look at that. just less than 500 are on the road. You say the survival rate, but where are the others? About 490. So we'll be establishing exactly how many of them are on the road. It's important. And then the average lifespan. We'll see. There was one that I used to sit in those days while going to school. There was this double-decker one. I don't know where they are now. This is it. We'll get to this aspect of things, but it is dangerous, this kind of situation that we find ourselves in. Because of the challenge of traffic, we're losing almost 3 hours lost per day, per passenger. If you multiply that, we're talking about 30 days, almost over a month, gone in a year, productive hours, and the impact on our health, because last week, Professor Bobkin was quite clear on that. And then the potential work hours. We give you this picture so you have an idea of what we are dealing with as a country. Let me acknowledge the presence of Dr. Joshua Zebute Zato. He is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Political Science Department, also public policy analyst, and nursing the idea of getting to Parliament for the Cisalais people on the ticket of the MPP. Dr. Zato, good morning.
Good morning, Alfred, and good morning to Martin and my new friend I've just met, and good morning to the viewers. This week, members of the Galengan clan or the Kuro clan of Tumu will be meeting in Tumu to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the passing of Tumu Kuro Kantun Wogri. They call it the Kuro Yoho annually. It is a big occasion for all sons and daughters who are not only Cisalais, but also members of the Galengan clan, Galengan Viera, to meet. And the Jantina of Tumu, Banyana Canton Tommy is summoning all of us to meet at Kuro Billing to celebrate this anniversary. So I'm pleading with all sons and daughters of Tumu, wherever you are, let's all come together. Thank you.
Thank you. Your invoice will be made available to you by the end of the program. Just so you know.
Marty will take care of it.
Marty Pebo is private legal practitioner. He's joining us. He's a passionate Ghanaian, as all of us, but one that has taken the course of the demand for accountability a notch higher. Marty Pebo, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us, Council.
Yes, good morning. Morning, Mr. Kansi. It's good to be here once again. Ghana's #1 show, right?
Indeed.
Unparalleled, uncontested, and all the other forms of descriptions. Thank you, the people of Ghana, for making this program the best. Yeah, we thrive on your feedback, your contributions, your corrections, etc. That's how we build a vibrant society. This morning, instead of my usual ritual of greeting, so for Kufu, Osiadeyo Ajmanbedu the second, Garmanch and the rest, I want to talk about the police service, just a comment. You know, over 30 years, and this is our experiment with our constitution, it's shocking that you still have some policemen who derive pleasure from just ignoring Article 14, Clause 3 of the Constitution, which mandates that you arrest the person, bring the person to court within 48 hours. You know, in recent times, this is the second time I had to call the CID boss, Madam Donko, right, to draw her attention that her men are keeping or seeking to keep suspects beyond 48 hours.
Okay.
And yesterday it broke me when I had to contact her the second time, because I'm like, so would I have to always go and report to the boss that this is what the subordinates are doing? So Ghana Police Service, please, those bad nuts who derive pleasure in keeping suspects and accused beyond 48 hours, it must stop. Look, in 1969 Constitution, next week I'll bring it, it was 24 hours.
Thank you.
More than 50 years ago, it was 24 hours. Then somehow, Nigeria still keeps 24 hours. Nigeria, that we pride ourselves that we have better records, they still keep 24 hours. Right. Hours, for some reasons, I'm sure we are still digging into that. We're looking somewhere. Then it was extended to 48. It just means, listen, prepare before you arrest the person. Or if maybe you think prepare it before, that's investigate before you arrest. You think he will run away. Then as soon as you arrest the person, start typing. What does it take to type the case to present it to court.
Right.
No, it's just not on. Because yesterday when I called the second time, I was like, hey, just in the space of 2 months, 2 calls. So is it that every month I'll be calling the CID boss? No, let's not do this.
Right.
It's not good for our democracy. Okay?
Thank you. Martin Preble, thank you very much. Now, let me acknowledge the presence of Professor Bafo Agyemendua. He is a governance expert, a former senior governance advisor to the United Nations. Professor Bafo Agyemendua, good morning.
I don't think you will mind if I have to pay homage first. In 2003, I was the PUSA president, newly elected at the University of Ghana, Legon. We decided to organize a conference on student-military relationships, okay? And then I was just naive. I didn't know what to do, so I decided to invite people. One of the people I invited was him. I've never met him before. I didn't know he was going to come. And he graced the occasion. He came and he gave us a massive, wonderful lecture at Tenge Tenge, Legon. And from that time, I've been seeing him on TV. I've never met him, and I'm here. I'm glad that today we come over here, so I'm really grateful for here. Another person that graced the occasion was the late Omane Boama. He was the NUC's president then. May his soul and that of all the peaceful departed continue to rest in perfect peace. So thank you, Doc. I was there, the student there to here.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
You didn't even give me the first word. But Professor Bafo Agyemendua, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Now we started, let me acknowledge, Farouk Redu Harun is the Deputy Managing Director of the Metro Mass Transit. We cannot have this conversation without them. Farouk, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, my brother.
Great. Now, I tracked this history for good reason, so that we'll put the matters in context. So, these buses, we're going to show our viewers and those who are listening to us, just give you an idea of how this scrap yard of the Metro Mass Transit looks like. But take a look at this. These are we visited this place. These buses, some of them were purchased, look at that. Either engine broken down or some have very minor mechanical issues. A number of them involve in accidents, unserviceable. When we say a bus is unserviceable, what does it mean? Aaron, let's keep this on the screen. Yes.
Alfred, thank you very much. Let me say good morning to our viewers and good morning to my senior members here. Alfred, literally when we say unserviceable buses has so many meaning and interpretations. One, there could be buses that's finding the right spare parts for those buses is a big challenge. And there could also be buses that are beyond repairs. Buses that are beyond repairs are buses that has a major mechanical faults. I.e., you have a bus where, so to speak, it is labeled as having a condemned engine, broken flames. All the major parts of the bus are just gone. The picture or the video you see on the screen, those are Daewoo buses.
Daewoo buses.
Daewoo buses.
When were they purchased?
And those Daewoo buses were procured under the previous administration.
That's the Nana Addo Dankwa
Akufo-Addo Suji.
And they already
it from 2002, 2003. And those came in, and the quantity of those buses were 99 buses.
No, this was by the Nana Akufo-Addo.
Yes, Nana Akufo-Addo's regime. And Alfred, the buses you see there, in fact, they are the nightmare today of the company.
What do you mean by the Daewoo buses are the nightmare?
Those Daewoo buses were procured without recourse to our environmental and weather condition. Let me state that again. Those buses were procured without recourse to our weather and environmental condition as a country. Those buses are fully electronics. And Alfred, those buses came in without basic spinner, bolted nuts, so to speak, spare parts. As it stands now, those buses are packed, not because of lack of funds, but those buses are packed because getting the required spare parts is a challenge. Within the African sub-region, you cannot find this type of buses they require spare parts. As it stands now, there are only 2 vendors we came to meet as new management who are actually dealing in this spare parts. What is happening is that buses that are broken, which require some specific spare parts, the vendors will have to come in, take those spare parts, go to Korea embassy, get a visa, and move to Korea or China.
Right.
For them to fabricate or remold or mold some of those parts. In many occasions, the experience is that when they supply those parts cannot fit the problem or the mechanical challenge identified. So those spare parts have to pretend.
So who does the approval for the procurement? Why don't you go through all those specifications before?
No, you go through.
So how then do you go and procure a spare part that cannot fix the problem?
You know, those spare parts, you have to take it to China for the company to remold it. And when they remold it and they bring it, on many occasions,
wow,
those parts cannot fit into the problems identified.
So that's waste of money.
That's waste of money. So
who is paying for that money?
No, on numerous occasions, when you bring and you realize that the parts could not fit into the problem identified, we reject it.
So if you reject it,
yes,
at whose cost is it?
That is why, as it stands now, most of those buses are parked.
No, but
Because
I get the point. But see, then you would have sent somebody to Korea.
Yes.
To go and then get the parts.
Yes.
Then you go to China. From Korea, you go to China.
And very soon, Alfred.
And then after remolding, you bring it to Ghana. It doesn't solve the problem.
It doesn't solve the problem because because the last report we intercepted few weeks ago, we were told that the Chinese government have actually blacklisted this company that you see way back around 2022, 2023 because they said they were not. In fact, they were producing unwholesome machine to the Chinese markets. So we were surprised the Ghanaian government then could go in for such machines as you see there.
And this was in 2022,
2022, 2023. The mainstay of the company has to do with the VDL. You know, we have a VDL with DAF engine. Those buses are very robust, very strong enough. And, you know, those buses came from the Netherlands government. You know, government of Ghana has an agreement with the Netherlands government. Mm-hmm. So that agreement was extended under the Nana Akufo-Addo's regime. So they supply us with those VDL buses from 2002 to 2024, about 100 pieces. So those 100, the last tranche of 50 came around 2024.
I see. No, so if you say, you mean 2022 to 2024, not 2002?
No, 2022, 2024.
Okay, good. I just wanted that. So,
and Alfred, again, let me state on record.
Yes, good.
You see, the stars you put out, the statistics you put out, by as you are aware, you know, Metromass was birthed out of then defunct OSA.
Yes.
So President Kufuor used at the time, because when OSA became defunct, their titles were transferred for the establishment of Metromass. So those things became the foundational pillars. But from 2003 to 2008, President Kufuor began Metromass with a fleet level of about 1,000 buses.
In fact, we're going to go back to all of that, but I just wanted to establish something.
Okay.
The 99 buses that you said,
yes,
quite a number of them are broken down.
Yes.
The Daewoo buses. How many of them are roadworthy?
Currently, as we speak, the Daewoo buses that we have operational across the country, maximum about 42.
42 out of the 90?
Yes.
99?
Yes.
So, and the rest is what we see on the screen?
Exactly.
Parked at your yard?
Yes.
So what's going to happen to them since you don't have the spare parts?
You know, we have an internal constituted committee called the Board of Survey. So the Board of Survey, together, you know, it's a mess-up. The committee members are drawn from the technical department, from STC, procurement, you know. They've been mandated to go around the country, look at the gravity of the challenge identified, the mechanical error detected. They will submit it to management for consideration, then we upscale it to board for some kind of decision to be taken. Then we inform government accordingly as to what to be done with those machines. As it stands, and it must also be placed on record, you know, the buses that you see, the Daewoo buses, when the buses move, say, from Accra to, say, Kumasi, as you are aware, then some road is under construction.
Yes.
The bus will not even pass in Sawam, and the bus will be parked. because the roads are not
bad.
looking good. They are bad. And you know, when the bus is fully electronic, one cable, cable A and cable B knocks 8 hairs together. And by the time you say jack, the bus is grounded. And that is the sorry state of it.
Hey. You know, this
But over the period, all the procurements which were done were done in the best interest of considering the weather and environmental condition of our
And you
country.
say this 99 did not have those considerations.
Yes.
So then who is being held responsible for this?
As we speak, we commissioned an external auditors. They submitted to us their draft report last week for us to look at it and revert back. We went through last week. I'm sure by Monday we will write back to the external auditors, and they will furnish us with their final report. And as you are aware, we will upscale it to the ministry for some prosecutorial action to be taken. That one I can assure you.
I see. But when this procurement was being done, the 99,
Yeah.
did anybody from Metro Mass get involved? Were you invited as part of the committee for the procurement? Because I know that when there's such the institution...
You know, as new management, the report that are reviewed indicates that the transaction was, those who led those transactions was then managing director and the then minister for transport.
I see.
They actually represented the states to broker such an agreement of a deal. So that's it.
Well, there's a lot more to find out, which if this is even getting you worried, there's a lot more. Adam Senano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. I brought him in because we are smelling corruption throughout this period, and that's what we want to talk about. Mr. Senano, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
No, you would want to think that, I mean, when you are even buying your own car, you will know where to get spare parts. I think that's basic, because obviously there's some maintenance that will take place. So if the state is engaging in buying vehicles and those basic considerations are not prioritized, then what is going on? Who is carrying the burden of answering these basic questions? Because from what we are hearing, because of the lack of spare parts, we have just 49 of them on the road. And the 99, that's 50, are broken down. And we have to fly somebody to Korea, go and get the spare parts, and then you go to China for remolding before you come to Ghana. And then when you bring the spare parts to Ghana, it doesn't fix the problem. After spending all that money. Mr. Ano, what's running through your mind now?
Well, thank you very much. One of my favorite quotations of all time is from a Nobel Peace Laureate, Professor Douglas North. And he says that to survive in today's competitive world, we need to continuously learn, be innovative, and progressively change. The first thing that strikes me is, are we learning? And I say that because there's a sense in which our procurement process, if properly followed, you can't get the result we are talking about right now. Because the procurement process in itself would require that these elements of where are you getting the spares, the follow-up support, technical support, including spares, would have been worked into the criteria that is required for the service provider or the procurement process to have been concluded.
Sure.
It tells you that the process was not followed thoroughly. And to that extent, therefore, some people must have cut some kind of deal. It is not possible that our procurement process was followed properly, and the issue of does this fit our environment, the issue of are they spares, the issue of would there be technical support were not addressed. And so clearly some people have to answer some questions. I think what bothers me more is it is said that it is madness to do the same thing the same way and expect a different result. And clearly the data is showing that we've been repeating this kind of thing, where every time we seem to say we're going to get some new vehicles, all the issues are not resolved, and before you know it, then we come back with stories like this.
So you think there's something wrong?
No, there's something clearly wrong across the chain. It cannot be that we follow the procurement process and ended up with a result where now you have how many cars sitting, we say we can't get the spares. The country itself, China, is saying that company has been blacklisted. How did we end up purchasing from them? On a much more substantive issue, it's good when we pick up incidents like this and try and learn lessons. But it seems to me that there are more systemic issues at an M&E level. The question in my mind is, was there an internal audit function? I hear my brother talking about they've commissioned an external audit. But as far as I know, as a standard measure, internal audits happen from time to time. External audits should have been a permanent feature of our public sector landscape, to the extent that we shouldn't have somebody who comes in now and must now commission the external audit. I find that curious.
I see.
What did internal audit show? Because already from the internal audit, they should be able to tell us that this is where certain things went wrong. And in addition to that, what has the external audit in past years demonstrated from this? Do they have an M&E department? Who is monitoring? Because now that they say they are going around, I'm wondering. Because you are supposed to have regular, continuous collection of data on the interventions that you are going.
Right.
Then from time to time, you have the external assessment where you analyze the data to draw conclusions. He seems to be sounding like they are now collecting data. That worries me. So where is our systems framework to collect the data? On which basis, in a half year, they would have looked back and say we have a problem on our hands. We shouldn't have ended up after how many years before we seem to say we have a problem. What is our M&E framework to have picked up the issues and dealt with them? That is a much more substantive issue because it tells me that across board, what are happening to our M&E functions, in addition to internal audit and external audit, as preventive measures of ensuring that we don't keep repeating the same mistakes and at a very huge cost to the state, waste resources.
Which is a sign
Substantive
of
questions.
insanity. But you see, what's the problem? I want you to answer that question. How is it that you are now going around collecting data?
To answer my senior colleagues' assertions, it's not that we are now going around collecting data. I just told you that as new management, once you take office, it is important to take stock of what you've inherited. Going through, then you take actions. As it stands now, like I said, it is also important to state. In fact, we just realized, just about a few months ago, about 2 months ago, not knowing that the VDL that I talked to you about from the Netherlands government, those 100 buses came with spare parts, not knowing that the previous management sat down, slept unconcerned, and a container, 40-footer container, loaded with spare parts, is locked out at the port for the past 3 years. We've got to know this. In fact, as it stands now, the contract regulating the supply of those buses, Metro Mass doesn't have it.
You don't
Until
have
we
the
knock, then somebody from the ministry even give us a copy, not the full one. With the Daewoo buses we spoke about earlier, we found out from some of the management staff, and they are saying that those buses were dumped on them by the ministry. That is the assertion someone making.
Dumped on them. What do you mean?
If I say dump, it means that their inputs, they were not consulted regarding the procurement exercise, as my senior brother, alluded to. So there's a lot going on. As it stands now, at the internal audit session, a massive shake-up has actually taken place, where currently, I don't think it is right for me to put it out there, but a massive shake-up has actually taken place to make sure that best practices and best standard is adhered to. Because you realize that a lot has gone amiss. The company is bleeding. And the level of leakages, you cannot imagine. How can you tell me you'll be routing over 250 buses, same period under review, and at some point the company was recording 9.3 million as against operational cost of 9.6 million. Now we are routing 115 buses, the lowest fleet ever in the history of the company, and we are generating 17.5 million in a month. Clearly, you cannot understand this. Routing over 250 buses, you were generating 9.3 million with operational cost of 9.6 million. Then fleet level has gone all-time low. As we came, we are using just 115 buses. Just last month, we generated 17.5 million. The month of November, we generated almost 16 million. It has been back to back. We came to meet an ITMS solution of 45%.
I see.
That is a revenue collection platform. In fact, the president gave a direct instruction to us that he's giving us a performance contract of 3 months. We should upscale it and cover the whole country. Within 2 months, we were able to connect the whole country to ITMS solution. And that, for me, was the magic.
So now
So
you're
that
able to
pushed our
track
revenue collection.
the revenue that was coming
From the 9.3s, which we inherited, to that 15, 16, to now 17.5
So are
million.
you saying that because of that, some of your own people were pocketing the money?
Of course, because how can you, Alfred, how can you accept this when the driver carrying the lives of passengers is paid under the previous management 1,100 Ghana cedis a month? Then the conductor who is holding the purse of the company is paid 700 Ghana cedis. The president said this is unheard of. So the moment the revenue started, the moment the revenue begins to, improve or increase, the president told us, this is the time we must let our people feel the resetting agenda. So the conductors, their salary has been upskilled from 700 cedis to 1,500 by 100% increment. The drivers are also taking about 2,000 cedis. We came to inherit 3 months of salary arrears. That has been paid.
I see.
Workers' salary, critical staff here, I mean drivers, conductors, and technicians, has also improved. In fact, their salaries have been increased by 25%, senior staff by 20%. Bro, as we speak.
This Daewoo, no. Okay, we'll continue a lot more. But this Daewoo buses you talk about that China has blacklisted the company.
Yes.
What was the reason for the blacklisting?
I just told you, they were producing on wholesome machine.
That's
the
what
Chinese
you
market.
found out.
Yes.
Okay. Nelson Roxon Dafiamipo is Majority Chief Whip and the MP for South Dai. He's joining us. Good morning. Honorable. Thank you for joining us.
My colleagues and Prof.
Yes, sir.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
Good morning. Senanu, we've been busy all week. Dr. Zato has been campaigning. And my brother, Betromas, they are hot. They are all over the place, but it shall be well.
Indeed.
Sinakwebu,
Yes, sir.
Happy New Year once more.
Many happy returns.
Yes,
Ghana
yes.
is a happier country now.
My senior whom I'm well pleased. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Happier
A
this
good morning to
now.
my constituency, Peki Palikwe Togo.
Very important indeed. Thank you. Thank you for joining. And you see, I bring in Dr. Zato because a number of the questions, at least for now, because we'll go beyond the former, the immediate past regime, because some of the things we are seeing goes beyond between 2016 and 2024. But to the extent that buses were procured, and you heard what Adam Senate talked about, the procurement of buses takes into consideration some basic information, weather and so on. If what Harun is saying is anything to go by, all of that was disregarded. They say that the buses were dumped on them, spare parts we can't even buy. We go and get spare parts, retool, or try to get them in shape. We bring them in. It doesn't solve the problem. Now we're getting information that the container full of spare parts at the port, 3 years, not cleared. What's our problem, really?
Thank you very much. Thank you. I just want to quickly, last year, 2025, how many new buses did you add to the fleet?
Last year, 2025.
When you came in, the new management.
No, we've not added.
You didn't add anything, so
not yet.
you are dealing with only the old fleet.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But we now have just one tri-bus, which we are trying. That's just about 15-seater.
Okay.
And how many buses do you intend to add this year?
In fact,
Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm not the one to ask the question.
No, we'll
I
get
want to
there.
throw. There's a reason
No,
why.
we'll get there.
There's a reason why I'm asking those questions. Look, this is what I want to say. Good policy is good politics. And any policy to improve and add more buses to for mass transport is good policy and therefore good politics. If you look at the annual issues about, how do you call it? Inflation. One of the biggest has been food and transportation.
Sure.
And so a smart policy, we need good policy, will be the one that will say that one of the best ways to deal with this is to what? Provide affordable public mass transportation. That's what happens all over the world. And that's why I asked that question, because that question was critical. You gave, let me say, a genealogy, a kind of a history of how various governments at various times have added buses, have brought in buses to work on this things. And we see it. I just want to give a small example of why I am saying that mass transport is a very powerful tool to fight poverty, and not only to move people. Presently, there is no public bus that you can take from Accra to my hometown of Tumu. No. There's none. STC doesn't go to Tumu. The farthest STC will send you is why I live there. Metro Mass does not move from here to Muno. If you want Metro Mass, then you can stand from Wa and take the one that is going to Bolgatanga. It takes forever to get there. Guess which company, which bus goes to Tumu from here? OA. OA goes to Tumu twice.
A private man.
A private man. On that same road. The road that you already know is the west in this country. OA goes to Tumu twice with their buses. Can you explain to me why? That a private man says that, look, it doesn't matter how bad that road is. It doesn't matter how bad it is, because there's a market there. That road is profitable to OA. But the government thinks that they are too good to go there. And that has always been the case. And so you begin to understand the managerial, the men and women put there to make these decisions, and why they profitize and prioritize where to go and when to go. And that, I'm saying that is the genesis of all these issues. They will say to you, this road is not good. If you go to WA, OA doesn't even have a regional office in WA. STC has a regional office in WA. STC has big properties, plenty properties in WA, with regional manager paid. OA doesn't. If you have a bus, you are the manager of that bus, literally. So cost is low. And this is so I'm saying that if you begin to look at it, this is one of the areas where you cannot just blame politicians. Where you cannot just bring them, because look at what they are saying. They bring in all these buses. And what happens to them? What happens to them and the leakages we are talking about?
Ask the question of their involvement in the procurement process.
Thank you.
It cannot be the case that, if you say they are dumped on you, then what?
Exactly. So my point is that look, if you go to STC now, if you go to Metro Mass, you will see some of the best engineers in the country there. They have been working there for how many years? They have the experience. They know everything about automotive engineering and whatever have you. So where were they when they were bringing buses that were not fit for purpose? Have you ever heard any public servant resign because they think that the buses that they are bringing are injurious to our national health? Have you ever heard that? No. Have you ever seen a leaked document of a public servant writing an opinion, solid opinion to a minister, say that don't do this and they've done this? We've said it here the last time, Martin, we said it, that corruption that is not sexy in this country, we don't care about it. In other words, incompetence of bureaucrats, we don't talk about it. Because we're afraid that if we talk about it, they will expose us. Buses bought upon buses upon buses upon buses. Imagine if all these buses were kind of coupled together. Buses will break down. I lived in Ottawa for more than 11 years. If you go and see the yard, the place where they park these buses is huge. They will break down, especially where we are, where the roads are non-existent. They will break down. Even if you bring a bus, tell me, how can you then say that for a whole year for Korea? Why can't Metro Mass sign a contract with this Korea company? You are the only company that we think that can service this bus. We have this number of buses. What do we do? Where are the solutions? Now you not take an individual. Prof comes and says, "I can fix this." You not say, "Prof, take this money, go get it. Listen, go and do it." That was the way. That was how the MD explained it. Why is the Metro Mass not the one doing that? Why is the state not the one saying that? Okay, look, it's difficult to get these things. We will use the power of the state. We'll go behind the state. Instead, I will let the MD or the Chief Deputy or the Minister of Transport go to Korea. Diplomatic levels, government levels. We have this number of Korean buses, your buses here. We are finding it difficult to get spare parts. We are finding it difficult to put them on the road. Please, government to government level, help us. Even if it means getting a loan or getting concern, whatever it is. Now you don't do that. You are now using intermediaries. Are you not anticipating the same problem? What even prevents you from going to tell the government have free zones and other places, right? To say that, look, precisely because of what we have, government will help you invest in this company to come and what? Build a factory here. That factory would, one, help to repair the buses. Two, bring in the parts. So that we'll cut out the middlemen. Do you know why they're still keeping the middlemen? My hypothesis is that when you have middlemen, then you can what? Do procurement. You can now what? Get to chop. That's right. Best practices do not say that. You found a solution. At least you found one vendor who can do it. You befriend the vendor, you give the vendor incentives, and you bring it to solve your problems. So best practices will say that. But if you don't do that and you are just telling us the problem, where's the solution? Secondly, look, I want to see a solid mass transport plan. One of the advantages of the current transportation crisis is that it is exposing a policy failure at all government levels. That governments all over the world have tried. And as you said, look, it was J. Kufuor who brought the Metro Mass. I remember I was a student in Legon, big. It was beautiful. Some of them were left-handed. He was trying to solve the problem, and later they were converted. Imagine every government of Ghana had decided that every year I'll add 100 buses, just 100 public buses for mass transport, and make it a commitment that we will do that. Imagine. That means last year we were at least at 500. Yeah. This year, at least by the term of any government, we can be sure about 400.
As for that commitment of addition, it's been happening.
Yeah, what?
As I showed you, in fact, right from 2003.
Yes.
There's been not 100, 200. The least we have had is 160.
So the point I'm making is that, so now it is also about time we begin to make that our accountability calls to go below the politicians to the managers and to the public servants whose duty it is to manage these things. He just said something. You brought a simple technology, improve the collection of revenue. We all know this. Everybody who is managing any service delivery knows that there are leakages. The smartest thing to do is to cover leakages. We all see it. You sit in the trotro and the maid collects all the money. Sometimes I ask myself, how are they able to account for this money? Maybe they have a major. So smart, simple, easy technology becomes the way. It is not rocket science. We should employ that. So I'm happy that he says we are employing that. I don't know whether it's a little too late, but it's okay. At least it's a solution. It has come. Let's continue to implement it. Thirdly, there's another issue that I'm talking about. Look, this things can be done through an app. A very simple app can do this. When you come, you pay. Those who do not have apps, you find different ways to get it done. But at the end of the day, too, we must begin to ask ourselves accountable. What do we want? Some of this procurement and some of these lapses need not be things that we should think should be handled. They should be. Where is the Public Accounts Committee? What have they been doing? The firm McCoy said he will tell us. What have they been doing? How many public servants have been held pulled out to say, look, did you approve a contract to buy buses that you think were not fit for purpose? Yeah. Because you cannot say the government forced you. At the end of the day, the decision was based on what? Your professional acumen. The decision was based on the fact that you went to tech, the technical school in Kumasi, the firm McCoy, and you got a certificate that says that you are a mechanical engineer. That's right. That certificate, you are hanging in your office. You are a big engineer being paid engineer money. Did that engineer money tell you that you should buy this bus? There's something called professional accountability. Sometimes we love accountability. No. You can have different forms of accountability. Legal accountability, political accountability, professional accountability. It's professional accountability that makes a medical doctor says that no matter what, I don't like you, I hate you, you took my girlfriend, but you are sick, I will treat you based on what? My professionalism. It's professional accountability that says, the FEMACO says that no matter what, you like this, but I'll still treat you because I am a medical doctor. Where is the professional accountability in all this?
The professional accountability bit, and then also the political accountability is where he points to that, to the extent that there's a process that has to be employed in procuring these buses, and yet those processes were sidelined. And the persons who are going to operate the buses were not involved in the process of procurement. That also raises questions.
Agreed. Professionals are rational, utility maximizing operators all over the world. Politicians. Every politician is a rational, utility maximizing operator. We know this. So they are out there to what? To maximize their rational utility. But you are a professional. You are the one. Have we seen anybody say, look, I'm told to sign a contract for this number of buses to support my country? I think that they are wrong. Have you ever seen a whistleblower document on that? Have you ever seen somebody say, and put his hand in there and say, look, hey, I refuse to sign this contract for this because it's not.
Oh, they do.
Good. So why are they? Those are things. They say them. And what happened? What happened? Look, it's easy. It's relatively easy in this country to deal with the professional, the political accountability, as I said, because that one is sexy. That one you will hear the stories. That one somebody prosecuted. It is below that. And so long as we keep avoiding that, so long as we keep avoiding bringing the professionals to face accountability, that's why the last time we came here I said that it is insulting and nauseating to see politicians accompany civil servants to the Public Accounts Committee to do what? And so ministers of state accompanying public servants to the recent public. You were not even in office when these people were there. You were not there when they made this decision. Why are you accompanying them there? Okay. To do what? Exactly. So they go there to offer them political support, hoping that tomorrow those people to offer them what? Managerial expertise. You see one hand washing the other, patting the bags in the corruption quagmire. And that is the point. Don't do that. Let them go answer, because when they appeal for Parliament, it's for what? Answerability. It is their expertise that Parliament is asking for. Let them handle that alone.
Thank you. Harun, that tap and go,
Yes.
which was introduced by the dying members of the Nanado Bawumia administration,
Yes.
how's it working now? Because then that will solve the other problem of the leakages.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was telling you. With the tap and go, linking up to the ITMA solution all the way to Haptor, we came to meet the level at which it was just about 45%. That's what I told you. We've upscaled it to about 98 to 99% across Ghana. And that has actually solved the problem of our revenue collection and revenue mobilization, which, as I told you, has manifested. And by December, we got about 17.5 million Ghana cedis. Again, if you look at formally with the management of our luggage and parcels, that session was also not fully automated with our ITMA solution. And we just took it from the scratch, and now we are doing that. Formerly, when it was the analog arrangements, we were just receiving about 500,000 Ghana cedis just for the parcels and luggage. Just last month, we had about 2.7 million Ghana cedis just for luggage and parcels alone.
I see.
Which even that, if properly used, could account for about 50% of our salaries. So if we are able to manage that session very well, we should be able to take care of our salaries and other operational costs. And it's also important to state that I agree that over the years, I think that you could have done better. Because if you look at during the days of President Kufuor all the way to Mills Mahama, like I told you, President Kufuor handed over about 1,000 buses, but the operational, we need to state this, the operational bus fleets that he handed over to the Mills Mahama was about 500 out of the 1,000 buses.
So what?
Then, hold on. Then Mills Mahama also augmented our fleet from 2009 to 2016, right, with another 600 buses. So by 2017, the company had about 1,100 buses. Then
Were
2018,
were all of them on the...
hold on.
Right.
Then 2017, 2018, the actual operational buses average was 600 buses
Out of the 1,100.
out of the 1,100.
So 500 broken down.
Yes. So around 2018, then management put on scraps about 400 buses. And those buses were scrapped. Those buses were dismantled and sold to some cronies. Then 2 months into the elections, specifically 10th October 2024, another 313 buses. That is the report of the Board of Survey.
No, all of this huge one.
Yes.
Lift it up, let me see.
This,
The
as you can see.
330.
313 buses, 313 buses. And it will surprise you, Alfred, to observe. This, so if you put 313 buses plus the 400 buses scrapped between 2017 and 2018, that puts it to about 700 buses. So my brother was talking about VVIP
All those-
routing through to Tumu. It is true because...
No, VVIP doesn't go to Tumu.
No, he said, sorry. It is true because in our case, our fleet level has gone all-time low.
All the buses VIP.
No, we're not going to Yeah, it's true.
When they are red and long, we say they are VIP
There's an
buses.
all-time...
It is the case because our fleet level has gone all-time low in the history of the company. If you go to WA, as he points out, our fleet level in WA is just about 6 buses. 6. So you need to route WA to Tamale, WA to Kumasi, WA to Accra.
By the way, Tumu
hold
needs
on.
a sleeper Metro Mass.
No problem.
We need sleeper,
No
please.
problem.
help us
So
there.
with this new 300 buses,
Yeah, give us
you
a
will
sleeper.
deploy something
Why
to
will
the
leave
place.
Tumu to Wada or Tumu to Bolga?
You are doing your
Sure.
job as...
Thank you.
So Alfred, so if you put the 313 plus the 400 buses scrap,
That's about
that's about 700 buses. And now about 90 buses,
13 buses,
yes,
scrap.
Now about 90 buses at various levels of repairs. Then 197 buses have been declared completely ground down, unserviceable. Now, the sale of the 313 buses, they claim that they said they generated 2.9 million Ghana cedis.
Out of the 313 buses
Yes,
sold.
and around 2015, under the elsewhere NDC administration, the then government decided that all buses sold, we should be able to create an account called an escrow account, where the amount of money or funds generated from the sale of the auction will be put into that account. Now, the last sales they did for the 313 buses, realizing 2.9 million. Those monies were put into that particular account. In fact, as you observe, President Mahama was sworn in by January 7. My MD lawyer, Kali Caesar, was appointed first week of March. I got my appointment second week of March. So between the period of 7th January to first week of March, the account was heavily dissipated by the then MD. The explanation to that was that they took that money,
The 2.9 million.
the 2.9 million, and they said they used the money to pay some suppliers and salaries. Meanwhile, that account, that is not the purpose upon which the account was created
That's an
in the
escrow
first
account.
place. Yes. And it will also shock you. If you look at the sales they did, a whole bus, in some cases, was sold at a cost of 2,300 Ghana cedis.
We shouldn't go into this.
No, I'm coming. Hold on. I have a reason to that.
I see. What was the condition of the bus
hold
that
on.
was sold for
You see,
2,000?
the condition of the bus, currently we have one, if I can share with you, at Tema. When we came, the name of the bus is a Wangai bus,
One guy.
Wangai brand. Same Wangai brand 2015
Is it
registered.
China or Korea?
It's a China bus.
I see.
So same bus, same condition. There were two at the time. In fact, a lot, but the two of them have same characteristics in terms of their maintenance arrangements. One was left to be parked at Tema, at a private person's yard. And this private person has actually developed the yard. He has walled it or secured it. Now the bus is about 80-meter bus. The bus cannot turn. So this person wrote to Metro Mass and decided to take the matter to court. We came in as new management to plead with him to give us some time. We cannot also tow the bus because the bus is 80 meter. So we had to cut it. And in cutting it, you need permission from government because the law shows how to go about such cases.
I see.
So we went through the processes, and Alfred, it will shock you. When SEC
I'm-
did
I've been
evaluation,
shocked too many
Alfred,
times.
when SEC did evaluation, just last week, for that particular bus, the 80 meter, same was also auctioned under the previous management around October 2024. They sold that particular brand at 3,000 Ghana cedis. The recent valuation from STC was 38,300 Ghana cedis.
Same bus, same condition.
Same, and even with this, just as it's happened the other one, we have removed the engine because the technicians advise that there are some special parts in the engine that the company, that it will be useful to the company. Then the back axle too has been removed. Removing the back axle and the engine, still we are making, the state is making about 38,300.
I see. So the bus, the same brand, same condition, and even what you're saying, the one you just sold has even more of the parts taken off. And in 2024,
Yes.
that same brand of bus,
Yes.
same condition of unserviceability was sold for 3,000.
3,000 Ghana cedis.
And
have the receipt.
almost less than 2 years on,
Yes.
you auction the same bus
Yes.
and you get what, 38,000.
38,300. And normal circumstance, even the current rate should have been even far depreciated down
I see.
than what happened.
So after noticing this, what are you going to do about it? Because clearly there's something that went wrong.
As
If the bus was auctioned for same bus, same
Yes,
condition for
yes,
3,000,
yes,
less than 2 years on, you are auctioning same bus, same condition for 38,900.
Yes. And Alfred,
What's going
if
on?
you look at the face of the receipts, I will answer that. Look, there was a grand collusion. Look, how can you issue one public auction? You issue 4 buses, 5 buses to one person. Then on the receipts, the cost of the sale of those 4, 5 buses is about 14,000. In some cases, 24,000. So if you look at the top quotation, you may think that the top quotation is reflecting a bus. So when you go down, you realize that the 14,000, you must divide it by 4. That will give you the price per bus sold.
What I
So
want to
as it
find out-
stands now, if you heard the minister, because I reviewed this document not too long ago.
I see.
And it was out there. So the minister has instructed that a committee, so he has written to us just last Wednesday. So I believe that my MD will also put a cover letter to Yoko for Yoko to come in
I
and
see.
do a further
That's
investigation
what I
on this
wanted
matter.
to find out. So Iyoko is going to step into it. Professor Bafajumendia, you are very used to this policy right from its onset because of your association with that administration at the time. Very, very passionate about this intervention. But flowing from the last point, it's clear that people benefit from declaring these buses procured with the state resources as unserviceable so they can sell it to themselves, is it not? At very ridiculously low prices at our expense. Look at this. Over 1,500 buses over the period. And just about what?
150
150
operational buses.
are operational. This is
It's
troubling. is it not?
mind-boggling, eh? It's mind-boggling. But you see, I'm not really surprised.
You're not
because
surprised?
It's part of the system over the decades. All political parties that get into government, they perpetuate that because ultimately they benefit from it. So these details are interesting, but for me, it's not the issue. You see, I'm always reminded of General Colin Powell's saying in his book that in their system, the military, if you take over leadership, you have 6 months to complain all you can about your predecessor. After 6 months, if you continue complaining, then there's something wrong with your leadership. It's as simple as that. You have told us all the challenges. Look, if there's strong evidence of criminality, simply push it to the appropriate portals so that you can look forward to see what can be done to salvage. We want to move on. First of all, this issue of public transportation has been an issue, it's not new, it's crippled almost all governments.
Unfortunately.
And we forget that we have a serious problem we call culture of maintenance. We know that. And it seems to me everything that is public, we care less about how it's managed. Look, I went to my town not long ago, in fact, no, a year and a half ago. And I went to the hospital. I saw a very nice ambulance. The ambulance was parked on blocks. And out of curiosity, I went to find out because this was close to the fire service in Jiso. And I was told that that ambulance has just lost a tire. It's best a tire.
Tire.
One tire under the ambulance.
And it's been put on blocks.
We put on block, waiting, they send requisition to Accra, waiting for the tire to replace the best one so they can put it back on the road.
Thank goodness.
That ambulance sat on the block, I don't know for how many months, and whether it was really brought back there. The point I'm making here is that public offices, and we are not talking about high ranking. My good friend was talking about simple offices. They are not responsible. They are part of the problem we're talking about. Now, coming back to the buses. You know, we know that public transportation is a critical factor in our economy. People need transportation. Therefore, it should be considered part and parcel of our development strategy. People forget that in 1974, Kutu Echampon established a bus assembling plant. Have you heard of New Plant?
Yes.
Do you know it was being produced in Kumasi? We started in the 70s, Kutu Echampon. Now we've been playing games with it. 2026, we are here talking about importing buses with defective spare parts and blah, blah. People simply don't want to be responsible.
The new plan staff have not been paid for quite a while now.
You know?
I don't know if the arrears have been cleared.
So
but
this conversation, whilst it's interesting, for me, it portrays a serious defect in the way we think and plan. We need a long-term vision for transportation that should include exactly what my brother here said, putting up an assembly plant, focusing on one brand, having the assembly plant, and building its spare parts because it's something we will be needing as we move forward to our development. As simple as that. So please, don't let one party come into power, do his own thing, leave the scene, and that comes, discovers the under what? sold and blah, blah, blah. That for me is not important. As a nation, and part of the resetting that the president is pushing should be a serious look at how we fix our transportation, avoiding these ad hoc approaches that enables managers to swindle us, you know. So that's, for me, that is the way to the future. Finally, it's interesting that when private individuals decide to go into transportation, they don't lose. It's very interesting. They don't
And
lose.
you see that cut across a number of sectors.
Yes.
When
Yes,
private
they
sector
don't
does
lose.
something.
You told me OA goes to 2.
Yes, twice a week.
And all these VIP buses,
Even though it
They
takes
run-
almost 24 hours to
Yes.
get there and come back, which is another problem.
you know.
Must fix
And
all
now
that.
here we are pumping millions every time 22 million, 40 million, 65 million. And now we sit here and we are bemoaning the fact that we can't even run our transport. If that's the case, look, let's seriously think about private partnership to bring some discipline in the management of these public buses. Because unfortunately, very unfortunately, most state agencies are never profitable because of the poor system that breeds corruption, deliberately destroying state properties. They can write it off and turn around and buy it. It goes on everywhere, at the harbors, everywhere. So look, we as a people, if we are going to just sit down and expect that the government, and when you talk of government, you only think of the politicians. The civil servants and the bureaucrats who support the system,
The administrative
they are part of the problem. Okay? So if we cannot run buses, if the state alone cannot do it, let's look for private partnership. Because still I'll make the point. Why is it that private companies and private individuals go into transportation and they don't lose? If you can answer that question, then you can find a solution to our national problem with the bus system, transportation system.
And you see, the same reasons that you outline is what has to be addressed so as to ensure that the state will be profitable in these ventures. Because these problems you talked about runs through all other sectors that the state finds itself doing some kind of intervention, and private sector is being profitable in that regard. But I hope you are not also discounting the fact that if financial malfeasance or some form of corruption is identified, the entire process of procurement and disposal of these buses, it should be watered down. I know that's
No,
what
no,
we're to
no,
say.
no, not at all.
Because I just wanted us to also just establish that.
Yes.
That accountability is key,
No.
while we also chart the path forward in
The
addressing
problem
this.
has been that the elites, political and the management elites, it is in their interest to run a system that is corrupt. It's in their interest to run a system that benefits them rather than benefiting the public. So they may know the right things to do. And my good friend mentioned a mechanical engineer who's been employed by the state to make sure these buses run. And this mechanical engineer, go and discover for yourself what he does in his position. You know, so I think for me, whilst I know that state intervention is important in certain sectors, because most developed countries have public transportation, so we can't run away from that. But the management in any country, the management of these transport systems are not directly in the hands of government. Especially in a country where politics seems to decide everything that we do.
Very important
The cre-
point.
I-
And right from procurement all the way to disposal. And Lamati Pebo, I'll come to you on this because that is what we see. And Professor Bafa Jondia talks about the personal interest over and above the interest of the state. So that at the level of procurement, some of these basic things are overlooked, relegated, because somebody has to get something in there. Even at the running and also operationalization of these buses, somebody's personal interest is in there as well at the expense of the state. At the disposal, we have seen, as established, personal interest over and above state interest as well. So how do we deal with this?
So the first tool is, it starts with the revelation, the disclosure, the stories we are doing now. So you see that now that Mr. Redu has brought the report showing the 312 buses. You see that the Nana Osei, something, the previous deputy managing director of Metro Mass. Yeah, I heard him on radio, trying to rationalize the sale of the buses, right? So the first thing they've done is that you're suffering a reputational damage. So that's a form of accountability. Yeah, because now it's on record that, well, you sold the buses for way too low, way too low. And so to the extent that now the public is aware, the first thing is, so who was in charge? So the MD, the deputies, yes. And they are explaining very long explanations. But at the end of the day, the ordinary Ghanaian would not accept that a bus went for 3,000 Ghana, 2,500, some of them 8,000. Nobody,
and they all
because
had
I like
engines in them.
Exactly, and I like the way Bernard Mona put it. That how much is even the tie? Yeah, Bernard Mona. Yeah, he said how much is even the tie? That you are saying that the whole bus should go for 3,000 Ghana, 10,000, and like Mr. Redu mentioned, just a few months or let's say a year or two down the line, the same bus is sold for what, 38,000, and even the 38, I'm sure it could go a lot more.
Yeah, because you remove the engine and the back axle.
Even that, you remove the engine and,
Yes,
the back axle.
Because we needed it.
And the one that was sold for 3,000 had the engine.
Everything.
And
Can
the
you
back
imagine?
axle.
Can you imagine?
What was wrong? What had broken down on that 3,000
we need to establish this fact. They instituted or they introduced a policy called, in transport, we call it cannibalization. And that is a grand scheme as we talk about, a system just to make some buses impaired because they considered the scrap business as a low-hanging fruit.
There you go.
You see, let me come in. They introduced what we call cannibalization. Cannibalization is where bus A comes to park at the yard simply because of 3 ties or 4 ties. Then at the time, the company feels that we don't have a ready-made brand new ties to park. Then all of a sudden, bus B comes in. This bus B needs, say, bolt and nuts. It's okay, then let's remove the bolt and nut on bus A.
That needs
That
ties.
needs just ties to bus B so that he can move. Then bus C comes in. Bus C needs springs. Okay, let's go again and remove springs on the bus A.
And this were done by your own staff.
This were done by, it's a decision by the previous management.
No, but that's perpetuated by your staff, Metro Mass.
Of course. So as we speak, I'm coming, as we speak, Prof said something. As new management, just to let him know that the company is in good hands, that policy has been banned.
The cannibalized.
Banned.
Was it actually a policy?
Yes, banned.
Like policy with documentation?
Banned.
That you were.
Banned.
Anyway.
And a bus could park.
Round up for me so that. Yeah. Round up. Make
Okay. A bus could park. In fact, as part of our nationwide tour, when we came around March, we went to Kumasi Abreport Junction, only to observe 3 buses were parked. One bus needed just about 3 ties. The other one, 2 ties. The other one, I think, about 4 ties. So how can you allow a whole bus to be parked just because of 2 ties or 3 ties?
Then over time.
So we declared that this thing should not happen again. So as we speak, we did a whole year projection, as Prof said, with our procurement arrangement, went through all the processes. We got somebody to get the whole supply for the year for us. So as we speak, for the first time, when those 40-footer container came in at the yard head office, the technical department, they were in jubilant mood.
I see.
For the first time they saw that was when the white man used to manage the place.
Oh, okay. Please.
Yeah.
Now we're getting home with this.
Excellent.
So there was actually a policy to cannibalize the buses.
Yes.
So that you can easily get them rendered unserviceable. Some politically exposed persons will buy it. Even they themselves will buy it at ridiculously low prices. And then they have it.
Excellent. So I was developing the first point about naming and shaming because it's also an effective tool.
True.
So I gave the example that Nanose and then the previous managing director, Albert Edubuahin, they've come in for hard bashing even before Yoko has gone into the matter. So it's a form of accountability. So it means that we are not fostering impunity. No, we are holding them accountable. It doesn't matter what Yoko will say, even if eventually they are absolved, it will never sit well with the ordinary Ghanaian that a whole bus went for 2,500, others 7,000, etc. It would never. So it's a form of accountability. But we hope that perhaps the investigations will reveal some criminal or criminality so that the cases will go to court. Right? And then with that, once they get punished, it will serve as a deterrence because it's the impunity that's festering this kind of thing. It's the impunity. That's the fact that the thing can happen and then it will, they will sell the buses cheap. The other political party will come, then it's like you scratch my back, I scratch your back, etc. We just hope that with this resetting agenda, with Honorable Dafim Ekpo in charge, we will not do too much of this. You scratch my back, I scratch your back. Of course, truth be told, in every regime, it always happens. There are some of the cases they will trade off. You can see even in the arrest, having to see some specific persons, they've never been arrested. They are in Ghana here. Then you understand. You understand that, yes.
I don't understand.
We are not that naive. We are not that naive, okay? But we understand there are certain characters. You see them in the previous regime. Everybody was pointing hands. You see there, when this government changes, he'll be the second or third to be arrested. It's in Ghana. You don't understand how the elections were won. Fair. Before elections, people go and they trade horses. They will fund the opponent.
Really?
Oh, yes.
You are saying something I don't
You have no idea. So, look, sometimes we sit here, we just look like pawns. But look, the political actors at the top, they have to understand that someday will come. Okay. Because anything are not agregu. No, it's true. Yeah. It's not that we are foolish. It's just that some of these things, you can't get the hardcore evidence. But we know that, listen, this person walking town and he has no case at all against him, you can see that he must have funded elections. Yes, because that's the only time it makes sense. But gradually, we'll get there. We'll get there. Someday when the anger pours out, you think the young people walking around, people know. It's not that we don't know. Anyway, that day will come. So the thing is that there's a lot of impunity. And so we're just hoping that with the reset agenda, you see how ORA is doing well. And so we've shown Zatu how ORA, is doing well. So gradually, we'll come to a lot of these people. So, Mr. Redu, the point is that push, let Yoko go into it. And then, hopefully, we can get some prosecutions so that these things will stop.
It's important.
Right? That's how I see it.
See, and you talk about the Honorable Dapio Amekpo because as Majority Chief Whip, yes, Yoko is going to be invited into this matter. Just as Professor Bafaj Mendia talked about, accountability is key going forward. But to the extent that we have not seen this accountability exacted over time. In fact, you look at from 2003, they say, 1,000 buses procured, just 500 of them were roadworthy at the time. And then right from then till now, I thought it was actually 400. But now, Mr. Redu is telling us that there are over 1,500 buses procured since 2003. Just about 139 of them are roadworthy. And yet we are here.
Yes,
people struggling.
Let me, first of all, let me say this. I am calling for a parliamentary inquiry, not to Yoko. Because you see, this problem has been too systemic. And we need to stamp our feet on this matter once and for all.
A parliamentary inquiry.
Inquiry into the auction of 313 Metro Mass buses. You know why? And this happened in October 2024. Before October 2024, I'd been a long-standing member of the Public Accounts Committee. And our Auditor General has every year flagged these transactions and reported on them, especially vehicle sales by state institutions, including tertiary institutions. So if you recall, I sued the Chief of Staff, I sued the Attorney General, challenging the practice where the Chief of Staff will be issuing letters directing the vehicles that are supposedly unserviceable be sold at a public auction. 'Cause that's not the law. Godfrey Dami came to court to challenge my my local standard in the matter. But eventually, the court determined the case and ruled in my favor. So this is a high court decision.
I see.
That says that the law is very clear. The office of the chief of staff has no role in the auction of public assets. And yet they went ahead to issue letters. What is painful, if you see the report, in September, they were issuing letters directed at a Metro Mass. What's painful is that when the chief of staff writes such a letter, they will appoint an auctioneer. The auctioneer is not determined by Metro Mass. Fremont Paris office will say that Martin Kpebu Max. You know the auctions they offer Max or Max. Martin Max is the one they have appointed to undertake the auction. And you take 7% from the auction vehicles. That's the law.
Matt, is it true? Are we taking some?
Okay, I'll use that too. Okay. You know, so the judiciary has had cause to pronounce on this practice that no.
This was the case you won against the former chief of staff.
Yes,
About the illegal sale of the Kumasi
so the
Technical
court actually
University.
directed that sale be reversed.
Okay.
And no such authorization should be emanating from the office of the chief of staff in these matters. Because if you look at Act 663, as amended by Act 914 2016, elaborate procedures have been provided for institutions to go through. If you feel strongly minded, if you come to the determination that some assets are supposed to be disposed of. But they still went ahead to do this. That's the pain for me. So which is total breach of the law. Now too, we have actually destroyed our public transport system. Not only in the road transport sector. We don't have an airline. Our air transportation has been destroyed. GM is now struggling to bring back an airline, set up a team. The committee's report, I understand, is ready. And if that is done, then you set up a new airline for this country. Meanwhile, airlines are national flagship. Look, they are national symbols anywhere you go.
True.
If you fly on Ethiopia Airlines, the kind of Ethiopian things that they confront you with,
Especially that is.
and you have, but you have to absorb it.
Done it before.
That's their carrier. On Kenya Airways, on Rwanda Air. As for Emirates, they are the #1 global carrier now.
Ghana,
So we need a Ghana Airways. We don't have a shipping line. Our ships are gone. So the public transportation system is not really about what's happening at Metro Mass. It's actually the microcosm of the macro effects of the what our public transport system has been reduced to. We are not paying attention to it. Meanwhile, it's a major source of revenue earner. Who doesn't move in this country? And you need a means to move. So like Professor Bafo Adjumandua said, you cannot leave the transportation and movement of goods and services in this country in the hands of the private man. He will make profit, but he won't pay attention to quality. Look at STC. STC is partnering with some private investors. I understand. They have provided the smaller buses. See how the smaller buses are doing. So a Metro man should be able to adopt such a model.
You are doing so.
Good.
But I draw your attention.
Good. If you do that, then we can do what other countries have done. You can assign routes. You can say that the 15-seater buses, it shouldn't go beyond 100 kilometers.
Speed is
Then Dr. Zato's favorite bus, the VIP bus. Let's call it OA. We will call them VIP bus. OA VIP.
Put it in tomorrow.
Good. They will do 250, 300 kilometer stretch.
Exactly.
And also to reduce the speed of, the buses, when they drive for long hours, they get exhausted. So you can say that the bigger buses should have like 2 terminals. So if you drive for like 200 kilometers, another bus should take over.
A driver, another driver.
Another driver to take over. Even if it's not the same bus, another driver should take over. These were some of the policies that STC used to adopt. And our railways. Look, this cannibalization in 2024. Look, Achimota, all the railway lines in Achimota were cannibalized. It got to a stage, one day I was driving, I stopped, I took photographs. Stood on the bridge where they were actually cutting the existing rail, even if they were bad, the nation would spend money to replace them. But who were these people who were cannibalizing the existing railway line? I posted it on my Twitter. They've removed all the railway lines as if tomorrow we won't need railway from Accra to Kumasi. It's happened. Yeah. If we ask where those metals are, we won't find them. They are gone. A certain decision, a certain group of managers will take a decision and do things that will adversely hurt the interest of the public this way. But they did it. So, my focus is on improving the road transportation system and, of course, the roads.
Oh, but you forgot the water.
Yes, I'm coming to water. Because when I get to the shipping lines, I'll get to inland waterways.
Yes.
When you travel to Zanzibar, when you go to Tanzania and you want to go to the island of Zanzibar, they are what they call water buses. The bigger ones, it takes about 1 hour, 15 minutes from Dar es Salaam to Zanzibar, the port of Zanzibar.
Okay.
And then to the Turtle Island, it's about 15 minutes. There are water taxis. These young boys take tourists. Every trip to and fro is $50. And from the mainland, from Zanzibar to the Turtle Island, which used to be the prison island, the tourist flow is nearly on 24-hour basis. And a passenger carries maximum 2. A taxi carries maximum 2 speedboats. You can imagine how much these boys earn from this tourism activity. From Tongocha or Gemini in my constituency, we have a 450-kilometer waterway on the mighty Volta Lake all the way to Buipe or Yape. We don't have a single water bus on it.
I see.
And private people have done their what we call boats. And the boats, they don't have life jackets. They don't have regular safety gadgets. So every now and then, the boats sink in heavy storm on the Volta Lake. Sometimes even stretching to tens of people perish. Sometimes 15, 16, 20, 30, they perish. I've had calls to make a couple of statements on the floor.
Thank you very much.
When they perish like that, but to what end? So we need to have a certain deliberate approach to rehabilitating our public transport system.
Thank you.
Providing buses for the inland waterways, bringing back a couple of shipping lines. Then we are told that we import more than we export. If that is the case, our shipping lines will be in business. They'll be bringing containers. They'll generate revenue. It will be a source of employment.
Thank you.
How many of our people aren't on other shipping lines? Also, we call them seamen. So, if we bring the airlines back, it will be a source of another employment for our people.
Good. Now, this.
So for me, this report, for me, it should attract Parliament.
So this parliamentary inquiry that you're going to initiate, when should we expect it done?
We are coming back on the 3rd. and it will be one of the matters I raise on the floor. If Speaker is minded, I'm sure that I will direct the appropriate committee to take the matter up and look into it. Look, if you do live hearing of this inquiry, you hear the issues. I saw some vehicles sold for 603 Ghana cedis. 603.
Mr. Okansi,
603.
look, some of them 2017, a 2017 bus for 16,000.
Yeah, 603.
2017. Can you imagine?
600 Ghana cedis.
2017 bus. Oh. How can such a bus go for?
It's
There's a certain principle that is missing here.
yes.
The whole idea
Of selling. That is the point he
And
made.
they sell to themselves.
No, that's the
And
point he
it's
made, that
been
it was a
there
deliberate
since
policy of
time
cannibalization.
immemorial.
And I am sure
That's
that
my point.
you can find similar documents like this throughout all the
Yes.
years.
No, a whole railway line, you auction it to people you appoint, and they
Of course.
cannibalize, they take the railway line
Imagine Metro Mass
sell.
adopts a plan that from now onwards, we will only import buses from these 3 established vendors.
Let me also make the point that it appears that the policy where if we go in for some loans, for instance, as a government, we take the conditionalities, which we need to check it. Because I remember that when President Kufuor set this up, I then finished university and then my service was preparing to enter law school. It was, the euphoria was big.
Thank you.
But the discussion about Jerry Rawlings City Link, City Express, and then the Green Line. You remember those buses?
And OSA.
And OSA. No, it was
OSA was-
OSA. It was after the Green Line buses that
Thank
OSA
you.
came. You know.
Yes.
So the discussions were had that why couldn't we simply have continued with these ideas? You know.
Thank you very much.
The public bus
But they are doing that now. They are
Thank you.
continuing with the
Thank
electric
you.
bus policy, right? Of course. They are doing that now. So there's
Yes.
policy continuation in the system right now.
Assembly plant of
New plan.
1974 by Champa.
As for new plan, we are in Achimota. New plan is there. It's just that.
Haruna is going to
And in
leave us in a
Kumasi.
bit,
Yeah, okay.
so I just want to have
so
his
Haruna,
last
the
point.
point is
Rawlings.
that at that time I know that it was part of the debt conditionalities, that the debt forgiveness that these buses were provided. So it was tied to some conditionalities. So we should have maintained the relationship and ensure that even if the company was going down, the engineering ought to have been transitioned.
Thank you.
You know,
Aruna, that bit about
I
the...
wanted to address the new plan issue. In fact,
Quick
new
one,
plan
quick.
has been inactive for the last 7 years. In fact, even Metro Mass were owning them. You know, new plan was responsible for the bodybuilding. You know, whenever the Netherlands government submit to Ghana the chassis, it is the duty of new plan to do the bodybuilding.
Okay.
So when we came somewhere 3 months ago, Metro Mass was owing them. We fully paid them.
I see.
And I know and I'm aware that His Excellency the President had a meeting with them together with us to revisit that arrangement where, as Prof said and my senior brother said, they will be able to go back to the bodybuilding and the full formation of the buses so that new plan could be active. It is important to state again that we are not just lamenting. In fact, on the strength of our own books, as you observe, we went to Cairo about 2 months ago to attract the 300 Isuzu buses.
Okay.
And we got this support directly from the Ministry of Finance, PPA, and direct support from His Excellency the President.
Right.
Just to be able to augment our fleet level. So we are getting 300 buses from Isuzu. And this is on the strength of our own books.
Have you-
It didn't come with any LC,
I see.
no bank guarantee, no insurance guarantee. Just on the strength of our own books. Because when the investors came or the businessmen came, they looked at our spreadsheet. If you are routing 115 buses and we are generating about 17 million cedis, look, you give you these buses. And for the last 10 months, it has been back to back. Our list of revenue collection is around 30 million. Again, we are also getting Toyota Hiace and Coaster buses, as Senior said. The Coaster and the Hiace, the Coaster is 19-seater and the Hiace is 15-seater. We are expecting the arrival of the Hiace between March and April. But the supply of the 300 buses have been staggered. So the first phase will arrive in Ghana by first week of March, and His Excellency the President will receive it and hand it over to Metro Mass for full utilization. Then the next batch is scheduled to arrive by June, July. Then the last batch, September 100, will complete the 300 circle.
Well, that's good stuff. But while you are doing this, have you addressed the sickness of the poor maintenance culture you have?
Yes,
in
the Isuzu arrangement is coming with after-sales service. In fact, some of our technicians will be taken to Cairo, they'll be trained, and they also bring in some of their expertise. And they're also giving us some spare parts. And again, it's not just about the bar supply. It's also about terminal development. His Excellency, the President, is developing the Tamale terminal. And that one is going to be used as a model to be replicated across the country. As you observe, our terminal points are not in the best of shapes.
All right. Thank you.
Let me just put one of the new ones on the Accra Tumu Road.
That's fine.
And the Wa Tumu Road.
If you don't win this, I don't know what's going to happen.
Put the new ones there, okay?
Thank you.
Don't give us the old one. Put that a very good one. Put that a very good one.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You see?
Thank you.
You see what we
Yes,
do?
sir. Quick one.
This one, I
Finally
won't say
on this
anything.
one.
But thank you. Put a good one on that road.
Thank you.
Put a good one on that road.
Let
for
me
us.
say this quick, Senano, quick. Somebody has just sent me information.
That what?
Some of the buses, about 3 of them are in Burma camp now. They are trying to paint them and change them into. Person has just sent me.
Wow.
Yes, that they brought them from Metro Mass in October.
They are painting them, changing them.
Yeah. He just sent me photographs.
Okay.
So if we are
have to check
interested,
that.
we should.
So
You know,
I like
can you let me have it? So
Honorable
we-
Wafama for his taking up that issue to court. I think it's something that is highly commendable. We need many more citizens dealing with such situations this way. So I want to thank the court for ruling that the Office of the Chief of Staff had no business in dealing with this. Now, I've been quiet throughout because in my mind, we see over and over again, the refusal to align with laws, policies, and systems.
I agree with you.
Especially within the tenure of a government. And the question on my mind is, how do we stop this? Because otherwise it can happen again.
Yeah.
Right from the issue of the procurement, where clearly, if procurement processes were followed, you don't have had a situation where you have buses that are electronic, that don't fit our environment. Procurement processes were not followed. How do we deal with whether it's technocrats or politicians who within the tenure of a government are putting away, lay down laws and policies? It looks like there is a gap we need to address. If we don't address that, it doesn't matter that we have a government that is resetting. You can come and then in another 4-8 years, you have another group who come in, ignore all the laws. And I'm sitting here, my mind just telling me,
Reason.
yeah, how we just go round and round and round and round. You build, you get to a certain level, then somebody comes and brings everything down.
Usually the first 2 years, they do very well. That's what I was telling him. When the election pressure starts, the moment you are in the third with the 4th year,
thank you.
So we
That
need
is
your
what
help
I'm-
because you are the legislator. What can we do about our laws? How do we change? You have to go to court. I'm sure at your personal cost.
Yes.
Can you imagine? A private citizen had to go and stop this.
Because you see, for 4 or 6 years that I've been on the committee, I raised the matter. Then the next year, it happens again. The next year, it happens again. So I decided to sue.
So we need to have a discussion.
You understand?
Okay.
We need
That's
to have
how
a
it's stopping.
discussion.
But clearly,
Thank you.
it hasn't stopped.
Yes, we need to. How do we stop this permanently? Because this country must move forward. And it's part of the bill. You go to the West, you go to other countries, and you find that the systems are improving over time. You are not going forward and then coming back 2 steps, 1 step, 2 back. But we seem to constantly take a step, then we come back. It's almost as if you come back to less than ground zero.
Thank you.
Maybe I
Well,
need to
thank you,
go back
gentlemen.
to court.
Thank you. Yes,
declare all
certainly.
this auction
And truly
irregular.
appreciate you for Apau, Farouk, Harun. Thank you so much for coming. And Deputy Manager of the Metro Mass Transit. Now we know what the state of affairs is and the full details of this report. In fact, this report will be serializing as we go on in the coming days because of the information in there. Aaron, thank you for joining us here on The Key Point.
He says he'll give us a new bus.
Yes. That's some good one. He's going to take leave of us. The next issue, and this ties into this matters of corruption we've been talking about all the while, and then the fight against corruption, and then in the Metro Mass Transit, and then also the entire public transportation system. Our next issue is the former Finance Minister, Kenneth Anaya Kotu-Koforidua, appeared before the courts, and that what you're saying is the virtual hearing. And that's what's on the screen now. You see him seated in the jumpsuit, which is the dark blue jumpsuit. It's actually the color code for the least risky detainees. So he's part of the least in terms of the levels of risk of detainees. What happened in court after we, the public, who were observing this online, were asked to leave, was that this case has been adjourned to April 27. April 27. That is the immigration case against him by the ICE. And also the bond application has been adjourned, that hearing to February 19. February 19. That is the development, because the trial judge asked for the evidence of the extradition request by the government of Ghana. The Department of Justice, we understand, will make that available. And this is an issue that has, even though was being held in the United States, has huge Ghanaian interest. In fact, at some point, the number of Ghanaians I could count on this virtual hearing, quite a lot of them, and until we were let go, because Kenneth Ofori-Atta's lawyers requested for a private hearing, which was granted by the trial judge, by the way, as of right of the detainee. Now, February 19, April 27, those are the 2 dates to have in mind. Now, Lawyer Martin Kpebu, I started with you at this point because of the consistent point you keep making about what you see as a difficulty in the process of getting Kenneth Ofori-Atta back. You say his investment in the United States might make it difficult to get him extradited to Ghana anytime soon. Why is that?
Yeah, so I made a point that, yes, investment. The U.S. thrives on a lot of foreign investment, a lot of foreign debt. You check their economy, they're always thriving on foreign debt, right? That's why I made a point that the Japanese, Canadians, the Saudis, etc., have billions and billions. Even for the Saudis, it's in trillions in the U.S., right? So you see why, when you look at U.S.-Saudi relations, you see how even though they had, the Americans, the previous Biden regime had issues with the Jamal Khashoggi, this assassination, you see that Trump, because he's very transactional, in no time, he quickly cozied up to the MBS, the Saudi Crown Prince, and now they are in good business. He says, so the Saudis are not even responsible for the death of Khashoggi, right? So that is the plain truth. The American economy invites a lot of foreign investors. And so it comes with some protection. Now, with the way Ofori-Atta is invested in there, you see that one of his lawyers, John Ashcroft, Ashcroft is a lobbyist as well. He's a lobbyist. And what we say in America, the lobbyists, they are the people who go around, okay, midnight, influencing government policies, etc., getting things done. They fix issues for you, They fix matters. So, and with that choice, John Ashcroft, who was former Attorney General from 2001 to 2005, that's a colossus. So it tells you that there will be a lot of power play. This thing is not a joke. There will be a lot of power play. So that's why I'm saying that looking at everything, if we are judging by what is on paper, it's a very complex fight. Very complex. And you see now, the next hearing is in what? April. Is that also?
Yeah, that's for the
bail. And that's
the bail is February 19th.
19th, oh sorry.
Yeah, but
and then
the April is for the substantive case of the immigration.
Now, yes, so you see that the trial will go on, and we all know that even under the extradition side has come on, it even makes it more complex. You know that extradition takes more time. So we are analyzing that. If we look at what is on paper, which is that Ofori-Atta has millions of investments in the U.S., then it complicates the fight. It complicates the fight. It's not just, an ordinary John Doe that you just catch and then throw out. No. And look at the pedigree of the lawyers. It doesn't come cheap. That's a lot of money. John Ashcroft, Google, you are talking about millions of dollars in legal fees alone. Millions of dollars in legal fees alone. And he didn't just take one lawyer. Then he took the Afghanistan man to the Kashimi. Kashimi is also alleged to have fled from Afghanistan. He fled from accountability. You see,
Well,
he didn't. He was. Yeah. Oh, you Google, you see, aviation minister.
But if you talk about the millions of investment, there was a question when you made this point. One I wanted to find out exactly what investments Kenoforiata has in the United States. If you say millions, what do you know?
Oh, so some are in stocks, bonds, U.S. Treasury bonds, stocks, etc. Then private investments as well. It's no secret. Okay, so both public and private.
I see.
Both public and private. And now that he has the lobbies in there, as I say, when you see lobbies brought in there, Charlie, this fight is far more complex than.
So this investment you're talking about is one that can be publicly verified. You pick some information you are looking into. I just want to find out because these questions I keep getting that you keep referencing Kenoforiata's millions of investment in the United States. It's going to make it difficult for him to be extradited.
Oh, yes. Oh, but it's even, those actions, once again, you remember those actions. At the point that I said his son had applied for permanent residence for him, this is the same way they came. How? I should show my source. Thankfully, in 2 months, it came out that his own lawyers had admitted. In the same manner, when it comes to the investment, be patient. Be patient. You heard the phrase the Attorney General used. He said the other investigations he's doing, okay, they are mind-blowing. You know, Dr. Ayuni is very moderate, okay? He's not giving away to flamboyant words and swag easily like that. So for Ayuni to tell you that the other investigations against Ofori-Atta, when they come out public, they would blow you away. Please be patient. Be patient. So let me use the publicly available information. That's what I'm using to answer you. And then let's go back for the avoidance of. I say Google and see John Ashcroft's pedigree. You know what it takes to retain John Ashcroft as a lawyer? You are running into millions of dollars. What are you saying? Even the lawyer alone, you're already running into millions of dollars.
Right.
So you see, then let's come to this part, just in case I don't get the opportunity to answer. Look, I think, you see, we've heard, last week we were here, Kofi Benton, my good friend and my lawyer, is not here. Last week I didn't get to answer, and I've seen it on other platforms. Please, this Ofori-Atta return, apart from us saying Akufo-Addo and the MPP must come in and bring him down immediately, there is also a separate constitutional argument that he has a constitutional duty to come back to Ghana. It's a constitutional duty. As long as he remains Ghanaian, he has a duty. Because, look, Article 12 of the Constitution says that natural persons must also obey the Constitution. We should respect it. Honorable Dafia Meko sits here, Dr. Zato sits here. We are all citizens. We must respect the Constitution. So if Article 12 says, just the instructive part, it says the fundamental human rights and freedoms enshrined in this chapter shall be respected and upheld by the executive, blah, blah, blah. And then by natural and legal persons.
Right.
Ofori-Atta is a natural Ghanaian. That's a natural human being, right? And what is the point? When you go to 19.3 says that the trial of an accused person shall take place in his presence. So that is where his duty. We are not saying come and confess to the Office of Special Prosecutor, etc. Of course, if it does, that's bonanza. But I'm talking about the trial. Trial, he must be physically present. It's a duty in the Constitution. It says that it shall take place in his presence. It's not an option. So those who are saying that he doesn't have the duty to come, you know, if it was optional, then what is the essence of the laws on extradition?
Right.
What's the essence? Then why do we have laws on extradition? If you run away, we will use the law to pull you. So this constitutional duty to attend, be physically present, please, is distinct, is separate from saying that, oh, we need him to help investigations. No, that's the one that he doesn't have the duty to help. It is the state that says he's committed some offenses. So the state must go ahead and prove it by itself, right? He doesn't have to help you, but he must make himself physically available. He must come to court. When he enters the court, because of our laws against self-incrimination, when you ask him a question and he thinks that any answer will incriminate him, he has a right to keep quiet. You can't force him to talk. But he must be physically present. So please, let's get a distinction. It's separate. Attending your trial is separate from saying, come and help the prosecution. He doesn't have a duty to help. No. It's the state that must prove his case. But he has a duty to attend. And for the avoidance of doubt, you go to Article 41, it's repeated there again, that citizens have a duty to uphold the Constitution. So how do you uphold the Constitution if you're running away and embarrassing us as a nation? Look at 41B. Okay, it says, so the exercise, and this is very important. So the general part of 41, it says, the exercise and enjoyment of rights and freedoms is inseparable from the performance of duties and obligations. And accordingly, it shall be the duty of every citizen to uphold and defend this Constitution. Uphold, that's it, that's a duty. Then you come again. D, to respect the rights, yes, freedoms and legitimate interests of others. You see, respect it, obey. So when the, what do you call it, the state is trying to unravel a matter, the state is investigating a matter in court. When I say investigations, yes, let's be clear. Apart from the police, Yoko, and the rest doing their investigations, the whole court process itself is also another form of investigation.
And the court itself too can investigate.
Exactly. So the court is investigating the matter. So
Evidence and all.
very good. The cross-examination, all that is a form of investigation. So a trial is an investigative process as well, right? That's why lawyers were also investigators, right? And the judges. So it says that, so the state is investigating it. And the Constitution says that you must respect, okay, the rights and then the legitimate interests of others. You see? So all of this tied together, Ofori-Atta has one unequivocal duty to return to Ghana and to be present. If he comes and then you ask him a question, he keeps quiet, he doesn't mind you like Mumu. Yes, it's within his rights.
I see.
But he cannot stay outside Ghana. And so, please, that should be made very clear. So anybody who tells you he has no duty to come to Ghana, etc., is dead wrong. I'm saying so. That is dead wrong. He hasn't read the Constitution well. He's mixing them. They are different strands of duties. They are different obligations.
But considering how complex you say the entire case is, which you have just run through, how much of an impact will the protest by Arise Ghana we saw this week and the petition, how much of an impact will that have on the complexity that you've just outlined?
Good. It unravels it a bit. It sends a clear signal to the U.S. government that, look, we are now becoming more and more conscious. So we are aware that once he has investments in the U.S. and also if you look at President Trump's record when it comes to investment, business, etc., it's likely at the end of the day they could just delay and not bring him. So, and I had advocated it even before Arise Ghana went in there. Some months ago, I said that in due course, we want to picket at the U.S. Embassy. We want them to understand that ordinary citizens, we understand this. No, it won't be that, oh yes, we'll bring them. Yes, I've heard the ambassador. Good. We respect the comment, etc. But we also know that in the past, you see, I've been referencing Bush 41. That's the older Bush. It's the way to distinguish them sometimes in American speech. The way they talk there is they call the older one 41, then the son 43, right? Because the older one was the 41st president, and then the younger, the son was 43rd. Okay, so Bush 41. When he was campaigning for elections,
Senior Bush.
yes, Senior Bush, he said, read my lips. There will be no increase in taxes. He came and he increased, right? There are many other examples. You see, President Trump, he makes U-turns willy-nilly, right? So yes, we've heard the ambassador, but we too, it's good that we keep raising the issues by doing the picketing, etc., so that it just tells you that we don't want anything to go wrong. We say in Tree that so as the Americans are committing to bring him, we must persistently complain. And there's a lot of value, I like saying, in noise. You see, when you are protesting, they are doing it well for you, but you keep protesting. It makes the person doing it up his game. Okay, what else can I do to make this noise maker shut up? How can I make it better?
True.
So it's a challenge. So the noise is welcome any day. We can't keep quiet.
Right.
So we have to support Arise Ghana to continue. It helps. It helps so that they also look at how they can quicken their steps in the U.S. to bring him so that the deportation, when it comes to the ICE case, maybe the ICE case can be dealt with quickly and then it can be deported. Then maybe there won't be the need for us to do the extradition case, right? And so we also repeat the request that Akufo-Addo should step in and the MPP must step in. We gave them the opportunity to serve, right? They had all the privileges, all the benefits, bathing in the skies, etc. And today, what we are getting as payment is international embarrassment. You Google it, and then Ghana is there. We are being embarrassed. We can't continue to take that embarrassment.
Great. Now, Professor Wajir, you saw this, and in fact, you observed this virtual hearing during the week, and you say, would you agree with those who say Kenofriata brought this upon himself to just come and end all of this?
Well, first, before I address that, I think the last point made by my very good friend Martin, I've also read a lawyer statement somewhere that is suggesting that, in fact, such demonstrations or protests at the embassy could backfire because it could strengthen the case of Ofori-Atta if he so decides to use this as an evidence of the political persecution, and therefore he may not get a fair trial if he comes. So there's a negative side to that public demonstration. Hey, doesn't matter.
That's there. Congress, people go to picket all the time. We've lived it.
This is an international issue.
Yeah.
It's not an American demonstration at the Congress. But all I'm saying is that that's a view of another
The
lawyer.
White House.
And you lawyers have different views
So I think
anyway.
that's Angela Moore. Angela Moore expressed
something
that
like
view, yes.
that, yeah. I don't know whether it's legal or not, but I think it's an important point to throw in there. Now, there is no question in my mind, and I've said it publicly, I don't know how many times, that Ofori-Atta should come back. In my humble opinion, he may have been ill-advised by those who advised him not to come, if in fact he's been advised at all. And I believe he has lawyers, and I'm sure lawyers are involved in this kind of advice. And, personally, I don't even know how to say it, but there's no reason for him not to come back. Not coming back, unfortunately, has led to this present predicament. I don't believe that if he had come, first of all, his lawyers could negotiate with the prosecutors or whichever office is handling the case about his coming back and the kinds of, whether protection is afraid or whatever. That could have been negotiated. It's done all the time. So there's no reason, no justification for his refusal to come back. So for me, I don't have a problem with that. But I want to shift the conversation a little bit. You see, at the moment, we are focusing on the individual, his responsibilities, and the accountability that he has for the work that he did. And that is in order. However, I think we should also begin to look at this issue in a broader context. Ofori-Atta as an individual certainly is responsible for any malfeasance or criminal act connected to his office. But Ofori-Atta, as a public officer, did not function in a vacuum.
Sure.
You see, first of all, we should look at the whole system of recruitment into public office. Recruitment in terms of a president, of course, appointing, and what criteria is used in determining appointments.
Perfect.
Look, without necessarily questioning the competence, and this is not only relating to the position of the finance ministry. Of course, Ofori-Atta has done very well in private as an investor. financing, I don't know. Maybe through that investment expertise, he was also doing some international financial dealings or arrangements. But not the management of a nation's economy, because the money of a country is not just a matter of collecting and distributing. There's a whole political economy about that. And there's a whole system of how that works.
So you could be successful privately, but
Precise, but not publicly. And so that raises a question of how we recruit, and this across board, whether authorities appointing people put square pegs in round holes. That's number one. So we have to seriously consider the recruitment of public officers. Secondly, we should be looking at this whole idea of political loyalty. And in his case in particular, maybe the personal protection he felt because his cousin was the president. So here I'm looking at whether that also could be related to all the things he did for which he's being called to account. The third and important thing for me here is institutions that we have and the weaknesses of these institutions and the failure of the institutions to get public officers to behave the way that is required. You see, some of the accusations, they are yet to be established, you know. The SML and other things were sent to Parliament, isn't it?
Sure.
And Parliament as institution, my good brother is here, Majority Whip. Parliament as an institution approved some of these things. Whether on partisan basis or not, that is not the point. We're talking about the effectiveness of institutions to ensure transparency and
National
accountability.
Cathedral, all of that.
Yes. So it tells me that the weaknesses of our institutions could have been part of the problem. Because I'm looking at the long-term solutions that will not only stop people like Ofori-Atta in swindling the country, but for subsequent individuals in public positions to avoid that kind of behavior. So I'm not excusing him, but I'm also pointing out that these are.
So didn't get parliamentary approval. In fact,
I'm saying some of the decisions were policy decisions that were sent to Parliament for discussion and approval.
so
Of course, and all could be part of the problem.
I think the SML, one of the charges was it being done without parliamentary approval.
exactly.
Yes.
And without
There are
PPA approval.
28,
Precisely.
28 charges against him
Exactly.
by the OSP.
Exactly.
Great. So those that got approval, we know.
understand.
And others, he bypassed Parliament. And of course, we can even ask the question, how could he bypass Parliament if the law required him to submit it to
It's
to
the question I
Parliament?
was asking earlier.
Yeah.
That we have too many of those instances where people are managing to bypass parliament,
That's right.
bypass institutions of
That
state,
is-
and still do things.
That's right.
How do we allow that to continue?
That again reflects the weaknesses in our structures of accountability and transparency. So let's look at that.
Yeah.
So we don't have a recurrence of that. You see, so for me, whether we crucify him or not, or whether we say let the blood flow, as we heard in 1978, after the blood flowed, what happened? Didn't we revert to the same old bad habit of corruption and theft of public assets? It hasn't ended.
It must go beyond.
So
that
I
individual.
think this could be a wonderful occasion for all of us to consider how best we re-engineer our governance to ensure that the easiness with which public officers are able to do things can be kept. That, for me, is my long-term interest. So sure, Ofori-Atta will come and face the consequences of his actions, no doubt. But let's look also beyond that. Because if the focus is on him, you get him and we crucify him and he's gone, have we solved the fundamental issues that enable him, for that matter, that enables any other public officer to steal the people's money and assets? That, for me, I think should be a focus.
It's a very, very important point, you see. And Dr. Zato, this is why I bring you in, because the call for accountability is the reason why there's that unwavering focus and, in fact, the interest in this matter of Kenneth Nana Ofori-Atta and what happened in court this week. The demand that come and answer questions that borders on decisions taken during your tenure of office. That is not one to contest, isn't it?
Well, thank you very much. And I want to associate myself with a lot of the things that Prof has said. Actually, if you look at those pictures, the still ones of Ken Ofori-Atta, they are very humbling.
You mean the one?
Yes, the ones of him in court.
In the yes, in
Like,
the
just
detention
look at
center.
them. I mean, when you look, they are humbling. And no matter whom you are, be humble. And as we're talking about different forms of accountability, that should be a very powerful image to anybody.
This one.
This one, these ones. These should be a very powerful image to any man or woman who today has the power to serve the state.
That's right.
Any man or woman. That no matter how this case finally ends, the fact that you can look at this. Yesterday you saw the man striding along a giant in Ghana in the finance and everything. Today, let me say being humbled. If this alone does not tell you that can completely one day, nothing else will. Just far away in Trumpland. Not over here. So that's the first thing. I wonder that it should be another form of naming and shaming is accountability. Such processes is for accountability. Okay. And so I wonder, let it sip in, watch it and ask yourself how far we've come or how low we've come. No matter how you decide to read it, the fact should remain that one day, the accountability. Professor says something, and the general idea people try to make is that Ken, whose guilt has not been proven by any court, by whom to public opinion thinks that he's guilty. One of the reasons is because of his close association with President Nana Akufo-Addo, the former president of the Republic of Ghana. And that is because this idea of family and friends was raised to a crescendo. Made it look like family and friends was what? The one that was leading to corruption. And so it was kind of seen that whatever Ken was doing could get away with it because his cousin was Nana Akufo-Addo. Nobody looked at the fact that this was a man who has run one of the financial giants in this country about investment, that it was done that. And so it was also then hypothesized that to prevent similar things from future, we should avoid, reduce, or completely eliminate family and friends. Have we done that? Have we removed the family and friends syndrome in Ghanaian politics? No. It's still there in this current government. A lot of family and friends still occupy powerful positions.
But far less.
A lot of powerful family and friends still occupy positions. So what have we learned, or what are we learning from this? We bastardize this, and we bastardize Ken because we believe this. We've not learned anything. We are perpetuating, we are doing exactly the same family and friends things that we said we should do. So as a country, it then begins to ask the question, have we gone or have we not come? That is something that we ought to begin to understand and know that, look, either we come to the terms that families and friends exist, and sometimes they are also active partisan political players. You cannot just somebody because we are family stop your political dreams or ambitions. If we make that a clarion call and not the fact that we should hold you accountable to the same laws, it becomes because if your argument was that Ken was doing this because his cousin was the president, what about all the other family and friends doing that? What are they also doing that we don't know, what I won't see, because their relatives are in powerful positions? What will we see if tomorrow their relatives are not in powerful positions? Naturally, I want to make a point, personally, and I've said this. If I could give him direct counsel, I will say be here tomorrow.
You will tell Ken Ofori-Atta
Cannot be here to come here tomorrow, face the trial, man up, face the trial, and let the chips fall wherever they may be. That would be my advice, and that's my official position. That because it's going to be, and part of the thing is that it's going to be a drop, take thing that just keeps going on, and it doesn't help anybody. But then we come to the actions of the perennial and habitual demonstrators.
Send a message.
And it's a legitimate point. If a man's argument is that because of the actions and inactions or otherwise of my office, my stay in office, and because it is hyper-partisan, I will not get a fair trial. Then you turn the TVs and you see men and women at the US Embassy literally calling for his blood, literally screaming, kill him, crucify him. Then the man can make that argument, and we can all now make that argument. You said it's a ruse, it could be. But then we also know this. That's why lawyers exist on technicalities, right? Because with the technicalities, the law is just poetry. It's just literature.
Okay.
That could be the case. That could be somebody will hang this whole thing. We told you that this will happen. Look at what they are doing. They're supercharging the whole system. Because the question is, then they're saying that is there any judge who can see these placards, who can see this and free him? That the public anger may be visited on that judge or that judiciary system. When you do that, you are giving people, you may be giving him weapons. And then if those weapons are not successfully used, I'm not saying they should be, I'm not saying they will be, but it's possible that those become weapons, armory, if they are successfully deployed and it doesn't happen, then you begin to do what Martin tries to do, to blame a political party for the actions of an individual. How? I mean, I always say this, I don't know what you gain by doing that. Why?
And you heard Professor Bafo make the point about Ken Foriata not acting alone.
Yes.
And that he acted as a result of both an appointee within an administration.
Exactly. We've said that. And fortunately for us, the other people that he was supposed to arrest, they are already there.
Who are
He was charged with other people, right?
Well,
the
he's
charge.
just his chief of staff.
Exactly. I agree. No. I mean, all the charges that the SP brought, there are so many people that were so
Yes, that's for SML. SML is one of 5 issues that the OSP is asking questions of him. There's the Petroleum and Minerals Revenue Assurance Contract. There's the Electricity Contract Termination. That's the cancellation of the ECG agreement with Beijing BX. And then there's the National Cathedral. And then there's SML one.
Yes. So I don't understand. What's the question then?
So, no, you are referencing the fact that there are others that he's being charged with.
Yes.
But this is just specific to just the SML
Exactly.
case.
So what I'm saying is that the state can go ahead with, because I don't think all these cases, the state is again that he just acted alone.
No.
So there were other people too. So those people, I don't know whether their trials have begun. Or we are waiting. Or is it
We started the whole trial now.
The whole trial
It's in
started.
the US with his aide, Akori, and there's Akori.
So the point I'm trying to make is that, again, the more you try unsuccessfully to make this a partisan case, whenever you accuse his political party, you are making the case a partisan case. The moment you try to bring in the former president, you are making a partisan case. But he's not been tried or he's not been looked for his partisan case. No, he's been looked for one, you were made a minister. There were laws, there were rules and regulations that govern how you should perform those duties. Did you do that? Did you protect and preserve the laws that were given to you, both the letter and the spirit of the law? Did you implement policies, make decisions in the supreme interest of this country? That is what is at stake. Not his association otherwise, because I don't think the MPP did not hold a meeting to say, Ken, you can do this. No, most of the things are done either administrative or a policy. In fact, I don't think you'll be surprised to hear that there are people within his own political party who were against what he was doing. They did. They protested. They wrote letters. The MPP rose up. There were people, MPs, how many MPs? 88 MPs wrote a letter. So whenever you are roping in the party, you are also 98 good.
Eventually, the entire caucus.
Thank you. My point is that then, when you then keep accusing the party, you're also scandalizing them. Because they're like, listen, we actually rose up against this thing to put on record. Today we are referencing that because they were saying that is not whom we are, that's not our party. They are referencing that. So whenever you do that, then they ask you, what did you do when others happened? So my point is, look, let's roll back the partisanship. Okay. And let's try to deal this case solely based on its merits or otherwise. Right. If you don't do that, and we begin, and you try to bring in the party, then before you realize, so far you've seen that the whole party, the structures of the party, they've just kept quiet because here's a man fighting for his liberties and freedoms. You have to respect that too, no matter what. He has his fundamental human rights. When you begin to make it a partisan case, when you begin to rope the party in, before you realize the party may realize, oh look, we are not going to sit down and allow an individual to just keep roping us in. Then the party may then begin to, and before you realize, it becomes the regular or the normal NDC, MPP football. We don't want that. let's deal with this case just solely on its merits and let the man one day have his day in court and let the court decide what he has to do. And I'm saying this, even if this trial goes, this thing delays, and he gets and it goes for 10 years, 20 years, 10 years, it comes. No matter the attorney general, the government that is there, if he is found guilty, we should not issue a nolle prosequi.
All right.
We should not.
Thank you.
Because I'm saying this is important. One of the reasons why you can see the state try to be a little bit of a hurry to prosecute this, because the state is afraid that if it comes at a later date, another attorney general in that office may issue a nolle prosequi as that happened. So let's give and do it quickly. My question is, can we create a system where politicians and big men like this cannot game the nolle prosequi thing in this activity? Because you made a point. So now they contribute plenty money, political successes. That is why my argument is, that is why they then get the nolle prosequi. It's because they do that because Attorney General comes and then they tell you, hey, we gave 10 million, 2 million, 5 million for you to come to power. If we hadn't given the money, you wouldn't be in power. So in return, give us a nolle prosequi. Until we remove the nolle prosequi as an incentive for corruption, until we make it that nolle prosequi doesn't incentivize corruption. If we do not do that, then these things you are talking about will keep happening. It will keep gaming the system.
I know what I'll come to you in a bit, but this concern, well, not a concern, but the position that Martin Kpebu espouses that because of Kenneth Retter's reported investment in the United States, it could make the entire process of getting him back to Ghana a bit more complex. Is it one that also bothers you, or one that you see as a potential challenge to the call for accountability?
Well, yes. I mean, all the factors are things that could influence the eventual outcome. However, I think it's also important to recognize that this case is so critical to the government of Ghana that I can imagine that the engagements going on between our government and their government will highlight how much of an embarrassment it will be for our country if this were not handled well. And so they'll try and compel the US government to say, listen, based on all the other things where we do a little bit of trade-off and lobbying, this is one of those instances where although there may be so much of an investment, it will critically impact our bilateral relationships. So one needs to be very cautious. So I agree with Lawyer Martin Kpebu that this is a substantive issue to consider, but I'm expecting that the officials of Ghana would do that kind of discussion to say, look, this is one of those instances where it's a landmark issue for us, that so many issues have come up where this particular individual needs to come back and answer to it. I think also for me, it's a very sobering point in the history of our country. I mean, who could have imagined 2-3 years ago that our own Keith and King, our former Minister of Finance, would be seen on a screen in a foreign country wearing the garb of the prisons there? I mean, I don't think we should have this discussion without thinking about our pride, what it does to us as a people. You know, it doesn't matter that it may be a political person, actor. This is still a Ghanaian. And I feel embarrassed. I feel that we should not allow ourselves to get to this kind of situation. And maybe it's a good reminder for our politicians and other technocrats. Let's not, trivialize this. You may, in a few years' time, end up with a situation like this. Mind you, the man had entered the US in January on a 6-month visa. By May, knowing very well that if it expired, he might be picked up. He moved to the UK, got a renewal for 6 months, so got back in May, but it was up to November. But by June, the red notice was out. Okay. Now, this cycle would have repeated. And I'm just saying, look at the amount of effort it was now taking him just to try and avoid. Yeah, let's think about that. How much effort you would now have to put yourself through. But by November, because there was now a red notice, he could not attempt leaving, renewing, and coming back because it had been picked up in a foreign country. So he was stuck till January. Now you have an extradition request. How much more complicated has his life become? Now, I want to talk about ethical leadership. Ethical leadership being that all of us, when we are appointed into positions of trust, you must know what is right. Do what is right. Influence the people around you to do what is right. It is why the Conduct of Public Officers Bill is so critical to this country. And I'd like to talk to Honorable Dafam Okpo. We need to pass this law so that we go beyond voluntary commitment to doing what is right to a legally binding and actionable law, where it will not be, oh, it is only in the Constitution. And Lawyer Kpebu has done a good job of highlighting that you are supposed to come back. Yes. But it should not be, it's like, okay, it's in the Constitution, so I have the choice to decide whether or not. I mean, it's surprising. At that level, it should not even be his lawyers who tell him. You should know yourself that you need to come back and answer to the questions. So we need to pass the conduct of power. I'm just trying to say one of the solutions going forward is get this law passed, because it's not legally binding. Right there, it is not a voluntary commitment in some code of conduct, but you must be here to answer for your period, your tenure of office. And that's what every right person would do, right thinking person would do. And so we are expecting him to make it easier for all of us. Come and answer the questions. The same legal expertise you are paying for there. If you are here, engaging that legal expertise to help you answer the questions, that to me would be fair. But to be using that to say you will not come back, it really.
His lawyers in Ghana have indicated he's not running away from accountability.
No, but it is obvious to us because you don't have any medical report. You see, one of the problems was this. There is no report indicating that he has a flight risk. There's a problem for him jumping on a plane coming back. There's no medical report saying that his health condition prevents him from coming back. So what is the issue? That's the problem.
And even if he came with all the documents on his health to a Ghanaian court,
yes,
I'm sure Ghanaian judge will look at the situation and determine whether he should even go back to continue medication. You see,
it doesn't add up.
Anyway.
It really doesn't add up. In fact, that's why, and all of us are aligned. When initially the OSP was hounding him and they said he had to go, we all had a backlash against the special prosecutor that, let the man go, he's not well. You know, they say he's not, just let him go and come. But now he's gone. It now makes us all equally more responsible to say, you better come back, because it is clear from all the evidence, and we don't agree with his lawyers who are saying he shouldn't come back now. Unless there's a medical report at this stage, a flight risk report that says there will be some problem if he got on a plane, there is no current evidence suggesting that the man cannot come and answer the questions. And I think that rather than this rigmarole where we find him on screen in a foreign land, in a prison's garb, it's so sad.
He brought it upon himself.
He did bring it upon himself, together with those advising him.
So how much premium would you put on the assurances by the officials of the U.S. government who engaged with the Foreign Affairs Minister a little over a week ago that they will not stand in the way of Ghana in this, if there has to be an extradition of Ken Ofori-Atta and Sedina Tamaklo, those two, taking into consideration the complexities that Martin Kpebu referenced?
I disagree to the degree that Martin went. Because you see, America is like the standard for holding both private citizens and public officers accountable in matters of the law. America itself has found it necessary to convict a lot of its own millionaires or investors, so to speak, when they were established or determined to have flouted their laws, especially in financial matters. So a plethora of names, even movie actors like Wesley Snipes, who was later determined that his managers evaded some tax, nearly about $9.5 million. Even though he had to pay back that, he was sentenced. He served some time and came out. And he said he learned his lessons. So as for America, if you breach the law, it may not even be the government, because in their system they have private prosecutors. They'll prosecute you. Because you see, if they allow certain things to fester, the federal state will deteriorate. So they don't tolerate it. If it comes to their attention, they deal with it. Now, the Ofori-Atta issue, I believe we need to deal with it in the manner that we see fit. Why? Like Senator Anut said, when the man wanted to leave, and there was some hesitation regarding allowing him to leave, some of them spoke and said, by all means, the man cannot be confined to this jurisdiction. So if he needed medical help, we should allow him to go and that he will return. Eventually, he departed after the elections. If I recall, he left on the 9th of 6th of January, just before the transition concluded effectively for the handover. And so, if I'm correct, it's our chief of staff who eventually said, okay, will allow you to go. You know, so in a way, you have even put our own chief of staff into some trouble for listening to the sentiments and eventually believing that you will return. When, if you recall, again, when in the heat of the OSP investigations, and it was necessary to visit his home, and national security operatives went, our colleagues in parliament, they came to the floor. They actually demonstrated, came to the floor, raised the matter, as if going to the homes of public servants, whether current or past, was an abhorrence. I cited, for instance, when I contributed to the matter that generated some debate on the floor, I cited the situation of my brother John Jinapo. I cited the situation of Komna Donko. I cited the situation of Collins Dauda. Their homes were ransacked. In some places, in their absence. They didn't see it as an abhorrence at the time. So in the course of that, the minority leader, my brother Anowa Afenyo-Markin, swore to us and guaranteed that by a certain date in June of 2025, because these matters were around about a year ago, it was around sometime in March 2025, that sometime in June, he was assuring us in Parliament, the nation, that Ofori-Atta will return, that he was seeking medical attention. My boss, the Honorable Ayariga, before we rose, he asked him, you came to undertake to this Parliament. You know, when he was giving his closing remarks, if you recall, that you, when he said Zacchaeus should come down, you remember that famous phrase, so Ofori-Atta should come down. He said, you came to assure this house and the nation that Ken will return, and so that we can all deal with these matters. And in terms of our standing orders, we will hold you to it because you came to give assurance to the house.
Right.
So that matter will be treated from that perspective. But here is the case. Sometime in 2023 or 24 or 22, Ken was so sick he couldn't deliver the budget. Yeah. He had to take the Honorable Chairman Sabunsu to do it in his stead. So some of us were saying that, oh, well, that was a nice school. You seamlessly move from being the majority leader and Minister for Parliamentary Affairs to the Finance Minister. So we used to tease him as the acting Finance Minister. Ken eventually returned. And ever since he's been wearing the face mask. Ever since.
And he still does.
He won't allow anybody to do the work of the Finance Minister. Even though he was visibly unwell at the time. He won't. He had to take the president to give him an assistant by way of a minister of state in charge of Ministry of Finance. But when the members put pressure, their own members of parliament, 98 initially, and then eventually when it snowballed into some effect, Oseche Mensah actually held a press conference after meeting the president and said there was no way they could not support or they could not back the 138. So now it became a case of all of them, more than the entire majority, saying that they didn't want Ken. So the president had to beg them to say that, okay, allow the man to finish this fiscal year. And that from about 2023 or 4, if I recall, they will find a replacement. It didn't happen until eventually he had to go for Amin Anta to come in. So, by all means, I have just watched a video of Ken Ofori-Atta engaged in a demonstration, public demonstration in front of the Flagstaff House here, demanding accountability from office holders, that this nation deserves more, and that we couldn't allow public servants and politicians to do this to this country at the time. So he came onto the streets with a red how do you say, bandana, with a chain around his neck, demanding accountability from public officers. What was he doing? He was asking that if you hold public office, and this one, not even under any form of investigation, but just putting what we call public opinion and public pressure, so that public servants will work well and secure the interests of the republic and the state. He did it. With Esther Nkumaa, my senior, supporting him in the chorus, that he works like a bull and he pays taxes, so the government ought to work like a bull. All these things were said in a public demonstration. Today, you can elect, and here's the difference. What he's going through was not about compulsion. He has elected between returning home voluntarily and going through the process. He has elected that the comforts of his residence in Ghana is such that it is better to sit in an ice cubicle in the winter in somewhere in the US. And he should tell you, then he should tell you that the enormity of the charges that he faces back home. I'm not aware, honestly, apart from those that have been made public. I'm told that some are so serious. Some are so serious that it means he's aware.
These five, the Petroleum Minerals Revenue Assurance, this was the OSP alone.
These are from OSP. The AG itself
said it will
the
blow
AG
you
itself
away.
is telling us.
It will blow you away.
And you see, if you speak to some of the MPs, they will tell you that he actually, because they will oppose his stay in office, he actually went out of his way to get rid of them.
That's what the MPs
That's my friends, MP who have lost their seat. That's what they tell you. He actually sponsored candidates against them and got rid of them. Because they were vocal that it's gotten to a stage where a new person ought to take the helm of affairs. So he himself is ominously aware of the things he did and that they are being uncovered. So otherwise, what is it? The judicial system that we have, what is it that you cannot come and speak to your charges, even if any, and are filed before the court? Look, the Honorable Kwame Pipra, he served as a finance minister. He sat on the seat that you sat. You hounded him. He didn't go anywhere. Why? He couldn't have taken his passport and left. But he stayed here and dealt with the issues. His deputy, Victor Salome, deputy finance minister, when he was sick, he was vomiting blood. He had to come to court vomiting blood. You didn't spare him. So I am not saying that But we are saying that every other person who occupied the same office that you occupied and were called upon to account, and eventually some ended up in charges and arraigned before court. They faced their charges. They defended themselves gallantly in the matter. So by all means, calm down and defend yourself. In any case, you were not the only. Amin Anta succeeded you. You had deputies. So if there are any matters to be spoken to, means you can get assistance from these people who work with you. There were directors, there were chief directors. So why would you do this? In any case, you have businesses here. We have businesses here. Your enterprise, we are where you have interest in. Now enterprise properties, we know you have interest in. So it's not serving himself and his business image well in absconding from the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
At all. At all. And you see, when you do this, then the courts take public judicial notice of such conduct. So when tomorrow a politician is in trouble, the courts are reluctant. Because then they will be borrowing from your conduct and say that you politicians, anytime you are called upon to account for your state worship, you abscond from the jurisdiction. So you see, because bail, a lot of factors go into a court considering bail. And conduct is one key factor. Because bail is all to guarantee the court that I will be available to attend to court and answer my charges. But if by conduct, deliberately, you want to avoid coming to court, the court will hold you down. They'll anchor you here. In the US, they call it, what they put around your leg, as it called?
Oh, the leg monitor?
Yes. You can't move your distance. Yes.
And we need to introduce
Yeah, so
There's a bond. He's applied for bail, actually, which is going to be held on.
That's
the
it.
No,
Second
I'm not
time.
dealing with the US matter because as for the US, that is, it has nothing to, because if he left today that he wants to leave, they will just ship him out without going through all this
it will
process.
bring everything to an end.
Yes,
All
if
these
he left today that I want to leave, no, because
Why aren't you
the essence of what they are doing is that your stay is unlawful.
Exactly.
And your existence places a further burden on the public purse, because when you are sick, you go to the hospital, they take care of you. That's the thinking of the American.
Exactly.
So if you let to leave their shores today, they'll ship you off. Quickly, they'll put you on the flight and ship you off. So he must elect to come back. If he does that, all this trial, all these matters that is playing out in the US comes to an end.
And he
It's
would win a
that
lot
simple.
of respect.
Yes.
He would have won a lot of respect by
But
doing
he won't
that.
do it.
You know?
He won't do it because he has lawyers here. Anytime he comes, they write. Meanwhile, I've been asking the OSP to go and serve the process on the lawyers. The summons that they've gone to fight, they should serve it on the lawyers. We know his service for address. They will act. But when you want to do that, they say, no, we don't act for him in this matter. So Ken must come down because children are learning from such things that when you're a public officer, you must be willing to account. The day we were vetting him, the questions, you have to go back to the Hansard and read the kinds of things that were said about him. He was the Yale trained, he was he was the best thing that ever happened to our financial sector, all those things. And today, you don't want those highfalutin sounding testimonials to come to your aid.
Well, no, thank you. Professor Ralph Ajmade is going to take leave of us in a bit, but this call for Ken to come back is eventually going to, as Adam Senano said and Daffy Amko said, would bring this entire process to an end. Then, you said he's going to get some respect, but you say it's too late. that respect will not come.
As for the respect, I'm not sure now because it's been so dirty. I'm not sure. But still, knowing Ghanaians, there'll be some sympathy for him. You see, we have sympathy for people who, for one reason or the other, find themselves in such a quagmire. So I think the honourable parliamentarian's point is well made. And there's no, as I said in my earlier remarks, there's no reason to justify why he wouldn't come back. So he should cut it short and come back. But having said that, Honorable, don't ever overlook the issues are raised. The system deficiencies, the institutional deficiencies, what makes it possible for a minister to do certain things outside the law. These are things that we have to take a critical look at.
Let me answer.
Because we should be looking at prevention.
So you see, the way also our parliaments are structured, we oppose. If you recall,
I know.
a lot of the things we oppose.
I know.
E-levy.
But it's
You have to
institution.
remember our fight. The e-levy matter is still in court.
Yes.
As we speak.
Okay.
Technically, it's still
Yeah.
in court. The court hasn't determined it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Even
though
the
it's been
budget
taken
that
off.
he
Even
brought.
though been taken off.
Yes, even though the budget that he brought,
Yes.
we vetoed it. If you recall,
I remember.
it was reinstated. So sometimes you don't blame us too much,
I'm not blaming you.
but the system.
The system, the institutions.
I agree.
That's all.
I agree.
Professor Baffa Jumendia, thank you very much for joining us. And
you.
as he takes leave of us, we'll also quickly be... Musa Dankwa is joining us. We'll also have Sejiri also is going to be joining us, also a private legal practitioner. But this is what Frank Davis, a private legal practitioner and one of the lawyers of the former Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, also spoke sometime within the week to join news. He said Ken Ofori-Atta is not running away from accountability. He's not afraid of coming back. He's ready to answer all the questions. Take a look.
Kenneth, Nanaya is not scared criminal prosecution. So those who are saying he should come in account, they should rest their voice. When it is appropriate for Ken to come, he will come. Whether by extradition or otherwise, he will come. And when he comes, he face the full throttle of the law. Nobody is shielding Ken. Nobody should have that conviction that anyone is shielding Ken. But Ken is supposed to have legal representation. And that is what we have as a Ghanaian. Nobody can take those legal rights of him. So those who are making all kinds of uncontrolled noise, I mean, to just advise themselves. Nanaya is not scared criminal prosecution. So those who are saying he should come in account, they should rest their voice. When it is appropriate for Ken to come, he will come. Whether by extradition or otherwise, he will come. And when he comes, he face the full throttle of the law. Nobody is shielding Ken. Nobody should have that conviction that anyone is shielding Ken. But Ken is supposed to have legal representation. And that is what we have as a Ghanaian. Nobody can take those legal rights of him. So those who are making all kinds of uncontrolled noise, I mean, to just advise themselves.
And that's Frank Davis there. Isaac Ejiri Danson, also a private legal practitioner, a lecturer at the Gimpa Law School, one-time best graduating law student in this country. Now, Mr. Davian, sorry, he's going to have his last word on this, but Mr. Sano, quickly, that's his lawyer. Not afraid of accountability, is ready to come answer questions. So, where is the disconnect here?
We see that actions speak much louder than words. And unfortunately for us, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta has failed to pass that test. When we all thought that the OSP should allow him to go and come back, the target was, I think, June 3rd or 5th or something like that. He didn't show up. I think it was only just a few days before that he suddenly sent a message he was not going to show up, they should deal with his lawyers. And since then, we've seen that strenuous effort, it seems, not to come back willingly, when we don't see that there's any medical threat. Indeed, the current assessment that the embassy said that ICE did on him said he was fit. He was fit to be in the prisons of the US.
True.
How can somebody be fit to be in the prisons of the US for an extended period and cannot get, and that's why I was talking about, there's no medical report saying that he can't come back. There is nothing showing that there's a flight risk posed to him, his health, his life. And he can't come back and answer questions when this is a standard basic element of leadership that you should be accountable. Unfortunately, his actions do not support what the lawyers are saying. And many of us have now drawn the conclusion that this man is attempting to run away from, as it were, being accountable to the people. And that's very unfortunate.
Isaac, is that quite evident, that clear attempt to evade justice, accountability from the people that you serve as finance minister?
I would say, the Ken situation is truly a sad one. Ken, anyone who have dealt with him on a personal level, you've met with him, it's almost impossible to reconcile what is happening currently with the person, his persona and the person that he is. Clearly, there's been concerns that, though he is willing, he said that he's willing to face accountability, he's willing to answer to the questions. And we have seen that happen in the past. He had to go through the censure motions and all of those things. And we all witnessed, the eagerness and the calmness in dealing with those questions. He said he's willing, but he's also expressed concerns about his safety, but also being treated fairly if he came into the country. Unfortunately, as some of your panelists had already alluded, some of our actions as a country, as institutions, but also even some protesters has gone to sort of give him a case and a cause to worry that maybe if he came, he will actually not get the sort of a fair trial that he deserves. One as, even in private life, the very achieved person that he was, and also someone who has led our Ministry of Finance. He's one of the longest serving ministers of finance that we've had, over 7 years, So it's a difficult one. I hope that some assurances could go around, some conversations could be had, and he could be given the assurances, that he is asking for, so he returns to the Republic. And then he comes to speak to, of course, people who serve in public office should be open to, public accountability. I have no doubt at all that Ken, the person that I got to know, is very open and willing to face public accountability.
So then why is it not coming?
I think the concerns have been raised severally. It's mainly, as on what I've heard, is issues to do with his personal security and access to fair trial. But the Attorney General
has assured him that. The Shraj boss, Joseph Whittal, yesterday also gave that assurance. What else has to be done?
That is true. I have heard, I read Joseph Whittal's remarks. I think that is a very welcome one. I think it's a little bit late in the day.
Why?
These assurances should have come, the Ken has been persecuted, almost prosecuted publicly in the court of public opinion. People are calling for his blood, people are calling for his head, people who don't really understand even the issues that are against him. He is convicted in the minds of majority of Ghanaians, and of course, because he hasn't been in the Republic, he hasn't been in the country, he hasn't been to court, that also means that he hasn't gotten the opportunity to share his side of the cases and answer to the questions against him. But you've seen that Ken has had very little lovers in this whole process. Very few people have spoken or advocated for him, even as a suspect.
You think he brought this upon himself based on his own conduct?
In both sense, I think yes and no.
Okay.
Ken's, I would say the very nature of the work he did and the times that he did that work meant that he had to, hindsight, I think he stepped on too many toes, and so he doesn't have a lot of lovers. From the work he did, I can, from off the top of my head, think of the men's gold issues. People lost money, and he straight said there was no way the government was going to help. People felt he was responsible for losing their money with men's gold. The banking sector cleanup was another issue. People lost licenses, businesses, opportunities, and again, he's held responsible. People think that he was responsible for that.
Was he
the
not?
DDEP is another thing. You can think of all of this, and of course, the economic struggle that we went through post-COVID. All of these things are things that people hold Ken responsible for. But these are indeed he was the guy in charge of the treasury, and so we can hold him accountable for. But these are not crimes.
The backstop was him. And well, the ones that he's been investigated on, at least from the special prosecutor's perspective, are these 5. The Attorney General, from what some of our guests have indicated today, also have some issues they describe as serious. Iyoko, we understand, is also investigating and some other issues that Kenneth Ofori-Atta also is also being asked to come and answer questions on. But for the OSP, these are the 5. National Cathedral, ambulance deal, GRA tax, there's P-Fund, this one, and then also these 2, the Petroleum and Minerals Revenue Assurance, electricity contract termination. That ends this one for us. But thank you. You know, he's due in court again on February 19. We'll see how things play out in that regard. But this is Key Point. We're live on 3FM 92.7, TV3 Ghana on Facebook, on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the City of London, Voice of London television as well. Now, on this note, exactly a week away from today, the New Patriotic Party, which Kenneth Ofori-Atta served in the previous regime, with the party was in power, also will go to the polls to elect the next flag bearer of the party going into election 2028. That's why Musa Danquah is here. He is the chief servant of Global Info Analytics, the head of research and executive director. Mr. Danquah, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, during the week, there was a peace pact that was signed. The former president, John Agyekum, that's Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was there. He had a few words on the matter of unity for the NPP going into election 2028. And that also, in his view, must be a cardinal point of focus for anybody who seeks to lead the party. This is the final, and we're going to put that on the screen right now. And Mr. Danquah is going to be joining us. The final poll and predictions for the 2026 presidential primary of the New Patriotic Party. A week away from today, January 31. Final. So this one, so you can stick your neck out and say you are putting your integrity on this one. that this is it. This is it. And the sample size is over 10,000. And spread across what? You use face-to-face and...
No, this is just pure telephone polls.
Telephone. You called all the over 10,000?
Yes, we called them.
Hey.
Over a period of 4 weeks.
Over a 4-week period?
Yes, every week we do 2,500. Every week, 2,500.
Phone calls?
Phone calls, yes.
And this across 272 constituencies?
Yes, only 4 constituencies were missing from the contact lists.
You called over 10,000 people?
Yes.
And so when you call them, what do you ask them?
Oh, several questions. We start with, asking them about the upcoming primaries.
Okay.
And whether they believe that the party can unite after the primaries. Mm-hmm. Then they say yes or no. And then we ask them to give us their opinion about how they perceive all the 5 candidates. Mm-hmm. In the case of Bawumia, do you see him favorably or unfavorably, or you have no opinion? Mm-hmm. We round that to every delegate will be asked to give his opinion about all the 5 candidates.
Right.
It is to give us a sense of who is more favored in terms of positive and negative.
I see.
And then we go into the concept of what we call the second chance for candidates. Mm-hmm. We ask them whether they believe that the idea that second chance being given to a candidate will help the party win.
That's right.
We want to pick their minds on certain issues, mm-hmm. which will help us to really do a triangulation down the line. Mm-hmm. And then we ask them about who did they vote for in the last election. Mm-hmm. And they tell us who they voted for.
I see. Interesting. So you go back to who they voted for
in the last
just to
election.
Track whether they've changed their minds.
Absolutely.
Or they are still sticking to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then we ask them about the upcoming primaries, who they vote for in the upcoming primaries.
So that's about 6 questions.
So there are more. We even ask them, who do you think your friend delegate are voting for?
But how do they know that?
They've been having conversation. They've been talking. So that's another way of seeing whether the polls are in line with what they think people are doing.
Over 10,000 people.
Yes.
Asking them almost 10 questions and over. Interesting.
These are the regional breakdowns. You can see that Greater Accra has the highest, followed by Ashanti region, then Eastern region, Central region, Western. This is weighted in line with the EC register and also in line with the MPP's own register. Sometimes people can play with the numbers by giving smaller regions much more data than they deserve. Then you see that you are skewing the results in favor of a particular region. So this is properly aligned with the MPP's register of voters and also EC register of voters.
I see. Then you have the Greater Accra region having the chunk of the sample size, and that reflects both the party and the regions. In this, I want us to. Will there be unity after the campaign? Why was this question important?
No, you know, it's topical question these days. People are asking the way there's infighting, there's mudslinging, and so on and so forth. Can they really unite after these primaries? The delegates are sure that they can unite. Delegates, I don't think there will be division in the delegate rank and file. The division will be at the top.
I see. The top, I mean, as in
the
five.
Yeah, the campaign team, they're the ones who will be difficult to reconcile. But people who are the grassroots, look, the party is first for them.
I see. But the call for unity ran through the speeches of almost all the people who spoke during the Peace Pact. I think that's not going to have an impact on the top as you...
Well,
they are the ones who signed.
Some will be compelled that, look, if the grassroots are ready to unite, we, the top, cannot be the stumbling block. We have to go with the party. But as for the people who do that with their entire heart or half of their heart, is another matter.
So for the rank and file, you had 88% of them saying
yes,
the party would. And
this question is very important.
Candidate, do you agree or disagree that presenting a candidate for the second time will enhance the NPP's chances in the 2028 elections? 45% say they agree.
They agree.
And
23%.
23% disagree. But then you have those who say they are neutral.
32 are neutral. What? They are neither for it or against it. They are in the middle.
I see. But that's a critical mass.
It's a critical mass. And wherever they sway, they will come and add to this 45%.
How do you know that? I mean,
no,
how do you know that?
You see,
why wouldn't they rather... Would you say they will come and add to this?
Look at the gap. In fact, almost like 2 in 1. 2 to 1 agree. You see?
Yes.
So their minds have been conditioned to believe that, look, second chance for a candidate is better for the party. And that has been Bawumia's campaign. At a point, we saw Ken rebutting that strongly. But he knew that the effect is there.
Okay. And has that rebuttal had any impact, would you say?
We'll see down the line.
Favorability ratings of the candidate.
We've been tracking this data. How favorable or unfavorable do you see this candidate? So each delegate is asked to rank all of them. And on the score, Bawumia gets 93% favorability rating. Ken gets 85%. Brian, in the last period, has shot up to 86%. Educhum, 83%, and Kobna Japan, 85%.
I don't understand this. Well, no. So explain to me.
Okay, what we do is that how favorable or unfavorable do you see Bawumia? Or you have no opinion?
All right.
When you say favorable, they will take favorable.
Okay.
Unfavorable. So we just do a count of how many delegates rank him favorable, how many rank him unfavorable. Then we subtract the unfavorability from the favorable to have a net favorability.
Okay. And within the last period of the campaign, Dr. Brian Champong
has made a huge gain.
Some level of favorability amongst who? The rank and file of the
party.
So the 10,000 and over sample size, is it the delegates?
Delegates.
Delegates.
Yes. The polling station executives, those who are almost 90% of the voting bloc are the ones here we're talking about.
And Brian Champong shot up within this short period?
In fact, in the December poll, Bawumia was 91%. He goes to 93%.
That's just two.
Ken was 85. He remained at 85. No change. Brian was 82. He goes to 86 in that period.
What's working for him? Dr. Brian Acheampong?
This really started happening in the last 5 days, from Tuesday morning.
He's preaching that message of the unifier, which is a critical component, as you indicated.
Beside that, you see, Brian Acheampong and Kennedy are eating from the same bowl.
What do you mean?
Their strength.
What bowl are they eating from?
Their strength comes from the same regions. They are the account stock, right? So if Kennedy goes up, Brian goes down. If Brian goes up, Ken goes down. That is the real relationship between these two candidates. And on Tuesday, when the video emerged, there was a quick response by delegate.
Which video is that?
The video that he was attacking, that live video.
I see.
It really, really didn't help him.
No.
Well, on following that day, every single day, he was losing 1%.
You mean the video of Kennedy Ohene Acheampong?
Yes.
Talking about Dr. Bawumia's message of a second chance.
No.
He said that's a lie.
There was a video about calling Bawumia a liar.
Yes, he was saying the
I just
second
want a
chance
small
message was a lie. That he's a liar.
Really was. It wasn't good. That morning, we saw a shift in delegates' perception about him. And that continued till Friday morning.
Interesting.
Now, here, we asked the delegates, look, what are the qualities that you'll be looking for from your people, the person you want to vote for? If you look at it, if you go up slightly so that we can see the 23% of the delegates or the responses are saying that we want somebody who can win for us. For them, it's key. They want a winning candidate. And then 17%, they want somebody who cares for the grassroots.
Right.
16% say somebody who can bring change. And then 16%, somebody who can unite the party. Somebody who is trustworthy, 11%. Somebody who is humble, 8%. Other factors that were not mentioned, 7%. Only 2% mention a fighter, somebody who can fight.
Like the
I see. So, but obviously, I mean, it's no surprise that a winnable
candidate is dominant.
That but then there are others who have also been preaching a candidate who would be able to withstand all the other issues that comes with elections.
Mr. Fighter,
isn't well, I mean, if you want to classify it that way. But then you heard some of them make the point that it was, for instance, Dr. Bawumia was called out for conceding too early. Okay, that's a sign of weakness. All right, and so that campaign of a strong leader also featured amongst the other, that is between Brian Acheampong and Kennedy Acheampong. You heard them, but you classify it as a fighter. They probably would not agree with you on that.
Alfred, sometimes we carry notions, and we believe those notions are true without data. Have we polled MPP followers to ask them whether what Bawumia did was wrong?
Do you intend to poll that?
Well, I don't have time to do that. But for those who are making those assertions, they should have done some work. So you see whether you are in sync with your base or you are running somewhere and your base is somewhere. So sometimes we just make assertions, not backed by data, we believe it's true. I'll leave it there.
The final verdict on this, that is the various percentages that these five had on the last day, the last poll of Musa Danquah will be displayed. Gentlemen, please, right after this quick break, stay with us. This is Key Point. We'll go to the ultimate, the final one, and it's right here. So after this quick break, stay with us. We'll get into it. This is Key Point. Yeah. Welcome back to Keep On TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. My outfit this morning, as always, is by Kogra Clothing, and you can find them on the Spintex Road, 18 Junction, opposite the Allied Oil Filling Station. For this outfit and many others, you see me well on Keep On. Call them on 0244 238 341, 0244 238 341. For some more of the options. Musa Dankwa is still with us. This is the ultimate. This is it. Committed voters out of the 10,000 and over delegates that you polled, 48% say if elections were held on the day that you... This was just a little over, what, 4 or 5 days ago? Or a week ago?
Friday.
On Friday. Oh, that was yesterday, no?
That was yesterday. That was the last day, yeah.
I see. 48% say if elections were held yesterday, Friday, this will be January 23rd. They will vote for Dr. Mambia. 25% Kennedy Oyeneche Agyapong, 6%. But how is it that Dr. Brian Achampong has that favorability rate, but yet when it comes to the real deal of people saying they're going to vote for him, he's showing this abysmal
Remember, when it comes to favorability rating, you are being asked to rate all of them, not just one of them.
Right.
But in the case of election, out of the many, choose one.
Okay.
And he doesn't get that big number, even though they see him favorably.
But you see, the undisclosed, and gentlemen, here's where I'm going to bring you in there. This undisclosed, bracket or population, or I'm going to call it a constituency on their own, they have the potential to influence, especially these first two, is it not? I mean, it could go either way.
On the face of it, it looks like that. But when you dig into the detail, they say the devil's in the detail.
Mm-hmm. What's the detail? What did you find?
The detail is that even though he says to you that he is not disclosing, he has told you much earlier that he agrees with the notion that second candidate chance is better.
Right.
You see, he has exposed himself.
That's the pointer.
That's the pointer. Or say, no. That second chance doesn't work. I don't agree with it. He's giving you something. So you can go down there and bring that number down to much lower number. And those who say they are neutral, they are the ones who could sway either way. But in any statistical or modeling or polling, where are the majority headed?
Right.
And they tend to follow the majority. So that's how human beings behave. If more people are saying that it is good to have a second chance, those neutral will tend to flow with that tide.
I see. And then these are the committed. You do a head-to-head.
Yeah, between... if there's no clear winner, and you went to a runoff, who would you vote for?
Okay. So
on that score, Bawumia goes 51% and Ken 26%. And here, 23 said they will not disclose. Even if you take them out, they won't change the outcome.
Right. I see. But gentlemen, okay, I'll start off with you. Lawyer Martin Kpebu, would you believe the pollsters, the prophets, or the tricksters?
All the above. I like that. You sound like Dana Fariabua. My quizmaster.
Yes. It's like when Rollins went to the National Reconciliation Commission, they asked him to swear the Bible or the Quran, and he said he wanted both.
All of them.
Yes. So
he ended up affirming.
Exactly. So they all have a critical role to play, especially the tricksters. You remember before the 2024 elections, Professor Smart, he came out with a very dubious post that showed that Bawumia would win. But that's dubious. It was clear. From 2022, it was always clear that JM would win this election. So in 2024, for Professor Smart to come out with a post that showed that Bawumia could win the election, so that he had thrown polls to the dogs. So for me, I think all of the participants play a role. Yeah, especially the
pollsters and the tricksters and the prophets.
Yes. They all play a role because, you see, human beings are not just only rational. No. In election theories and behaviors, people don't vote just on rational basis alone. No. No. It's never been
Carrots
that.
are dangled.
Yes, yes. It's not just rational thought.
True.
A lot of it there is identity politics. Identity politics. The man comes from my home region. He speaks my language. He goes to the same church with me, religion. And in Ghana, you know, sometimes our polls don't seem to unearth the extent to which religion influences elections. It's huge. Very huge. Yeah. Very huge, right? So all of these persons play a role. So let's go along with all of them, except that the wisdom is knowing the extent of each person's influence. Yes, that's what will make the difference. You should know that, okay, the pollster is going scientific, but the polling is not only, he's doing science, but election is not only science. Election is also about sentiment. It's also about a lot of irrational factors, which carry a lot of weight. You say it, which carry a lot of weight. Because somebody is happy to just have, like we say, Medishia, right? Yes, it's one of us. That's it. The fact that my hometown man is president is sufficient. Yeah, because if not for anything at all, it makes sure that our ethnic group, our geography is made more prominent, etc. Right? So that's where I would leave it. Except that once again, we say that for me, I still struggle to understand that this thing is clear unless Dafema Kwenku misgovern way beyond the way the Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration misgovern. MPP doesn't stand a chance in 2028.
You are wrong.
Yes,
No,
it's clear. It's clear to me. Unless, and who is going to sit down for this? Dafema Kwenku himself will not even accept that. There is set agenda. The way people voted for JM, why is that space for him to misgovern to that extent? No, we've drawn a line, right, in the sand that we would never have such poor governance. So it means that it's a forward march. Because by the record, I mean, if you compare Akufo-Addo and JM head to head, JM is above him, economics, press freedom, corruption perception, democracy, etc. And ipso facto, better than Bawumia, right? So to the extent that this is a better administration,
okay,
common sense will teach you that go and bring somebody who is unblemished, somebody that people will not get anything to talk about. Bawumia, he's as corrupt as a...
come on, man. You cannot say that.
That's my opinion.
It's not an opinion. You cannot sit here and impugn a former president like that. Do you have any evidence that he's wrong?
Yeah, they say...
No, you cannot do that. No, don't say that. You cannot do that.
You can't say that. Let me go on.
I can say that. How do you sit there and say your former president was corrupt?
But let me go on.
Do you have any evidence to support that?
But the corruption perception index is there.
You didn't say perception. You said it's corrupt.
But
do you have any evidence?
What do you mean?
You said it's corrupt. Do you have any evidence that it's corrupt?
Have I said conviction?
You cannot sit there and impugn a man integrity like that. No.
Please. You keep quiet.
I will keep quiet. When you say a man is corrupt, you are the lawyer. You are the human rights lawyer. You have the right to call a man corrupt when you have no
evidence. Have you given me opportunity to talk, to explain, and I've not been able to?
Yes.
I'm making the point.
You were building on the point before you went on the other part of it.
They are all important.
I was scrolling into the religion aspect just to actually buttress the point you were making.
Yes.
In fact, it is indeed the case.
Based
on Musa Dankwa's own...
Musa Dankwa's 81% is for what?
Christians.
18%
Muslims, and then what was the outcome of this? How would you say that
the MPP delegates, 81% of them are Christians?
How critical is this religious state?
Look, it's not critical. For MPP delegates, less than 8% of them say religion is important to them, and ethnicity is about 10%. It is consistently shown that ethnicity is more stronger in our politics than religion.
Okay. Yes, so I'll wrap up. Yes, so we're just showing all of that. So my point, the final point was that, look, because this is a new administration that's doing better, bring somebody that you will market for 2032.
That's why you say
yes.
Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah.
But no, Boama is far better than Oppong-Nkrumah.
Thank you.
Yes, Patrick Boama is head and shoulders above Oppong-Nkrumah.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Oh, so you didn't give me opportunity to justify.
You will come back to it.
Okay.
No, it is funny. Sometimes we sit here and you
look at.
Okay, we look. No, I will look at it. I'll come back. Look, looking at the data here, there's nothing surprising here. There's nothing surprising here. Come Saturday, next Saturday by this time, over 200,000 patriots all over this country will line up to vote. When they finish, by the time they finish at the end of the day, they would have massively voted for essentially Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia because of his competence. They would have voted for him because based on meritocracy. They would have voted for him because of emotional immaturity. They would have voted for him because of his experience. They would have voted for him because right now, if you look at this government right now, whenever they are in serious crisis, it is the policies and the ideas exported by Bawumia that is saving them. Whenever you look at it, you will see that. And that is why they will go out and they will say, thank you, Dr. Bawumia. Medasi, Dr. Bawumia. Akpe, Dr. Bawumia. Dr. Bawumia.
Your tea is bad.
They will vote for him because he has demonstrated. And when they do that, come January 2029, he will be sworn in as the president of Ghana, and this country will be strong. This country will be safe, and this country will be prosperous under his leadership.
Please give me this video. Let
me do that. Look, I like, and I said I always say I like polls. I'm a fan of polls. You can look up and that polls help us to better understand our politics and everything. A number of polls came out. The prediction is 57 here. Cass, Codnan, Adnan, Stefan did a poll too. They also gave Dr. Bawumia 69. Africa Policy Lens, of which I am a senior fellow, so biased there. In that pool, I am in that pool, so people say I'm being biased. Also gave Dr. Bawumia 63%. What I tried to do was to put all of them together and take an average of them. To try to see about the validity and reliability of data, and also go for what triangulation. So that you do that to make sure that his is telephones, others could have been person. So when you use varied methods like that, when I do that, the small average, it comes down to around 63%. If you add the 69, 63, plus 57%. That means that taking all the reputable polls together, it points to what a decisive victory come Saturday. So that is not the story. What I am really impressed about today, and what happened is the other slide about the favorability. Please, could you kindly show me the favorability?
Oh, yes. No, you keep talking.
Yeah. Now, if you watch politics, favorability is cash. Favorability is money. Favorability is one of the things. It's cash, no. It's one of those intangibles that move polling numbers. It's one of the things that make somebody, oh, I just like him for no reason. There were people who just like Rawlings because somebody were afraid of him. There were people who just like him because it was in military uniform they liked it. And they would just go out and vote for you. In this election, we saw that people who just like JM. Some of it is irrational, some of it is right. It doesn't matter. He was just JM, and they just like they vote for him. So when your favorability is that high, you can easily turn that one into cash. And cash here means real voting numbers. The other good thing about favorability is that there was this argument that most of the MPP base did not show up in the last place to vote. Okay. When that happens, it's also because probably they didn't have higher favorability for the candidate. Because if you have such higher favorability for somebody, why wouldn't you vote for him? It seems there is a recovery there, that if these are numbers from the grassroots of the party, and they have given him such a 93% favorability rating. I'm telling you, if you can do that, you can extrapolate. I'm sure Musa can tell us the last time was his favorability rating, what he got, and now this is what he got. And you'll see that there will be an improvement. So for me, the fact that he's enjoying he has crossed the 90 line in favorability among his existence, it means that he has successfully consolidated the base. He has successfully brought the base home. And this is how you get the post-primary, what's the name? Unity. Because if 93% of the delegates see him favorable, you cannot go and tear him down. You cannot go and try to bring him up because the numbers are seriously in his favor. So for me, that was and come Saturday, I'll be in my hometown of Tumu just to observe as a neutral and just to see how it's going.
You are a neutral?
No, I'm just going. Yeah, as an analyst to see there, and I want to be a witness to victory. I want to be a witness to victory.
You are in the Bawumia camp.
I want to be a witness of history, and I want to be there to see how it is done and successfully done. You know,
please.
When he becomes president in 2029,
I'll be out of this country.
Oh, good. Go.
I'm leaving. I can't live in Ghana. No. I'll be gone.
We can do without you. Go.
Next week we'll deal with this.
We'll get another Pebu. You have plenty of Pebus. Pebu go.
No, not here.
Where does the chip fall for you?
For me,
Posters or
for me, what's instructive is that the delegates, they are just about 11%. Lays emphasis on trustworthiness of the candidate, and that for me is quite interesting because you see, we are getting to a situation where the nation is looking for trustworthy candidates. You know,
True.
for all that we see in public office now, we want people who will be trustworthy, people who will be available to account for their stewardship, people who, whilst in office, will also account for their stewardship. So for them to say that trustworthiness ranks just about 11%, I'm worried. But that's MPP.
The
But you see-
overriding is for a winnable candidate. Want
Yes.
to first win before they look at how
You see,
trustworthy
so
the
yeah,
person
no. But you see, it's
That's
important.
practical.
It's important that trustworthiness of the winnable candidate ought to be high. You need to, because you are looking for a candidate that will win you the elections, and you must gauge the mood of the nation. Even though this is MPP primaries, they must be gauging the mood. Where the Ghana is now, they are looking for trustworthy people in public spaces. You know, they don't give you impress and then you don't retire the impress. No. They don't give you public resources to undertake public work and you don't account for it.
Sure.
That's not what the nation wants now. So MPP should align with the mood and engage the thought of the people, the generality of the people. But I wish them well. But as for 2028, Zato, forget it. And forget 2032.
It will be 2020. He will sworn in 2029.
Please, forget 2028.
Who is your candidate?
December 7th.
Who is your candidate?
Zato is you.
You don't have a candidate.
It's you.
You don't put a say don't get here about me. Who will vote for
I'm
Sedun
saying...
Who will see
Zato,
Bawumia and vote for
that
Sedun?
has been done by
Oh,
the way.
Master, it has been done.
Zato,
So right now,
Zato,
he's riding the coattails of John Mahama.
Zato, I am saying...
You are riding the coattails of
okay.
Zato,
Oh,
Please
Master.
make your
Zato.
point. Make your point.
Zato, if we
Who will see
put...
Mercedes
Okay,
Benz and
Dr.
go for Akwaraa Point?
Zato. Dr. Zato.
Do you know, you call General Mercedes-Benz?
Another guy will go.
Well, yes,
General is not merely a Mercedes-Benz, it's a Maybach.
Make your point. Conclude on your
General
point.
is a Maybach. It's not merely a Mercedes, it's a
Make your
Maybach.
point. Make your point. Make your
And
point.
the NDC lent Bawumia to MPP. Bawumia is parents, etc. NDC. They just lent
political people.
Listen, tell Zato that. Tell
Zato, you've involved. You were once MPP, now you are NDC.
Zato,
I bet you are.
Zato,
You were once
let me
MPP, now you are NDC. You yourself, you've
Thank you.
involved.
Dr. Zato. Thank you.
Zato, General is a G-Wagon.
Thank you. Conclude.
I thought you were with Chief of Staff.
Thank you.
I'm saying you are comparing General to Bawumia, and you are saying that Bawumia is a
And
Mercedes.
Chief of Staff is what?
Hold on. You haven't compared Chief of
I
Staff.
thought you were at
You settled.
Who is your candidate?
You said,
Then who is
listen.
your candidate?
I said it's you.
You candidate.
Zato is you. You are compared General with Bawumia.
Okay.
You are saying General is Tiku. And
Yes.
I'm saying General is
Bawumia.
G-Wagon.
Thank you.
The G-Wagon is General.
That's it.
So
Now we know
I
the
want
first
to.
candidate.
I want to wish them all the best.
Thank you, thank you.
But especially because they signed the Peace Pact. And you know, for some time now, signing of Peace Pact has become a key feature of both our national elections and internal public elections. So I hope that the terms of the Peace Pact will guide all the candidates and their operators, both before the elections, on the day of the elections, and after. We are not going to war, but we are signing Peace Pact. So it should tell you, look, violence have characterized our elections. Innocent people have died. You know, violence have been used to overturn a lot of elections. Some are even still in court. So we want to. This is a home affair. This is a domestic matter. This is like home match. So they should play it fairly. They should watch the things they say, because some of the comments flying about, we are documenting them.
Yours will be worse.
No.
Yours will be worse.
Thank you.
You won't hear anything from
Yours
us.
will be worse.
Thank you very much.
You will be
Gentlemen.
shocked.
There will be blood on the streets.
No.
All right, thank you. Well,
So on this note,
I don't
on
think
this
that-
note,
that-
No, no,
yeah.
he knows what I can. He knows.
no.
Which one?
that last one.
That one.
You don't want
Oh.
in
No, I'm not saying it before. Blood here is does not mean blood.
Yes, you want to just take.
Okay,
that.
we just got out of it.
So I wish them all the best, and that
But he said Bawumia was
gentlemen.
corrupt. He didn't withdraw it.
may the best candidate to win
Okay.
on Saturday.
Thank you. There are a number
But
of-
their best will not be the best for us in 2028.
A few messages. Dr. Na Gandao says, good morning. Quite a number from the first issues that we discussed, so I'll run through them. Musa Dankwa will end with this one. Can we focus on Ghana as we do with elections? Can we always give an overview region by region? Why should we not have a regional budget on the various issues you talked about earlier? Is the situation of urban transportation the same across the country to the extent that for over a week we are discussing mainly Accra, you say? Thank you, Doc, for your message this morning. This one here says, Kizito from Tema. I totally disagree with Professor Jumandia of his assertion about the public or government transportation. He knows the ideologies of these two political parties, and it has been always the MPP, who says, with the government institutions collapse, you say. Thank you very much. This one here says that we must begin to think decisively about SOEs in this country. They are the milking cows. Exactly. And we are always blaming the politicians for corruption. This is one that must be of concern to all of us. So you are putting your neck on the chopping board for this. You say by next week, Sunday, the results should look like this.
Look,
close to.
Within the margin of error, we're saying that Baume will be 7%, plus or minus 3% margin of error. Ken, 28, plus or minus 3%. Brian, but the real fluidity is going to happen here between Ken and Brian. I don't know what's going to happen next week in terms of Brian numbers, whether it will continue to rise or it will plateau, or the people will go back to where they came from. That would really happen. But I'm very confident that with these Baume's numbers, we're going to have that numbers panning out.
See, well, we would wait because they are just a week away from now. Honorable Dafiamekpo, before we go, this week we saw the General Legal Council accrediting the Ghana Law Society to license lawyers.
Yeah.
What does this mean going forward?
Now, what it means is that my association, which is the Ghana Law Society, has been accredited by the General Legal Council upon application to them, actually, to, as it were, collect names of our members and submit to the General Legal Council for purposes of renewal, issuance of license and renewal of licenses.
I see.
And there's nothing esoteric about it. So we are also accredited to inspect premises of lawyers who want to open chambers and recommend them to GLC for licenses, because the chambers are also licensed. You must register your chamber, and so that the GLC, as part of its mandate, will license the chamber.
But that's what the GBA does, huh?
That's what GBA does. And so if our professional association want to do that on behalf of our members, I don't see the fuss about it, but the accreditation has come.
I see. But there's a suit challenging.
I haven't seen it. I have seen documents flying in cyberspace. Whether it's suit or whatever it is. If we are served, we'll deal with it.
So from now onwards, lawyers can come to you. And
it's not that from now. We are working.
You're already
accrediting
lawyers.
No, you see, you don't accredit lawyers. We are accredited to submit names of our members to the General Legal Council for purposes of issuance of licenses and renewal. So
I see.
So if my members come for me to submit their names, we are mandated now to do that. But you need.
Is it not in court?
Which one?
There's something with the Supreme Court about.
No, the Supreme Court. I went to the Supreme Court.
Thank you.
To challenge the presence of the GB in the Constitution as unconstitutional. In pursuance of Article 21(1).
So what you do will not interfere in that case?
No.
It has nothing to do with it.
No. It has nothing to do. I'm challenging the constitutionality of the mention of the GBA as being the only professional body in Ghana and therefore entitled to send representation on all statutory boards. I'm saying that is unconstitutional. That infringes 21(1).
And that has not yet been determined.
Thank you very much.
No.
But you are going
see
about
how the coming days will look like.
But if I'm accredited to do that, won't I?
Mr. Dankwa is going to be with us.
I am not saying they don't have the mandate to do that. I'm saying they having the sole mandate to nominate people.
Thank you.
You understand?
Now I do.
Yeah.